I'm good then.
Alright. Well, welcome everyone to the 5th episode of uh, this silly podcast. I am Ava. I am the host of this fun little party. I am a article writer for Maxroll. I write technical articles that has to do with things like attack speed, damage calculations, stuff like that. And today I'm joined with the OG gang, the gang from episode 1, the squad that was here from the start. We have Lurkin, Sanctum, Beatdropper, and Serok. Why don't you guys introduce yourself in some sort of funny order? Let's do some chaos around here and have you guys introduce yourselves to the ones that don't know who you are.
Hi, I'm Larkin. Oh, not like that though.
Let's start with actual Lurkin.
Hi, I'm
then.
Sirach. Hi, I'm Sirach. I make Necro builds. They're pretty dope. Let's see. Hi, I'm Lurkin. I make all the Sorcerer builds for Mobalytics. Currently working on a Charge Bolt build here on this side. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for next season. We're cooking.
All right.
Hey, I'm Sarok. I'm Necro Guides for Wowhead. I'm not looking forward to too much of the other stuff, but Bone Spirit's gonna be dope. So got a lot of cool stuff in this. I am looking forward to the seasonal mechanics of season 5. I think the gameplay changes are absolutely phenomenal. I think a lot of the QOL is too, but um, kind of limited on what we're gonna do for Necro this season.
Who
So
wants
I'll
to go
go
next?
guess. Hey guys, I'm Sanctum. Hello?
Hello.
I'll go next. I'm Sanctum. I write all the rogue guides for Mobalytics and then some Druid guides for Wildhead. And I make spreadsheets and good builds, I guess.
All right, I'm Beatdropper. I'm the French counterpart of all my German enemies for the Barb builds. I make Barb builds for Mobalytics as well. We got there's all three of us there. Beside that, nothing much to say. Like I don't do as much spreadsheets as my other friends there. I just do interactions, mechanics, and try to help the Barb chat because, well, people got a lot of questions in the past seasons. I'm expecting that to change, and probably most of you boys are gonna move on to rogues or sorcerers for season 5. We'll see.
Today's episode is going to be a little bit unscripted. We're going to be looking through the patch notes together. Like the changes from the season 5 PTR. We have gone through this a little bit off stream and discussed it with our peers, so to say. But we're gonna go through them slowly but steadily and basically just like go through other changes that we didn't see coming. Are there changes that we saw coming? Is something missing that we expected? Like a bunch of questions like that. Some of these questions may be interesting for those of you that are interested in how builds are sort of coming together. For the most part, though, we're also gonna talk about the new items or like the changes of the items that are existing in the game. How they're gonna affect builds that are currently meta, if the meta is shifting altogether, a bit of like stuff like that, essentially. So what do you guys think? Should we talk about the Infernal hordes, like the changes to that at all, or do we just go down to the actual class changes?
Oh,
What's the TLDR? Are they just less terrible now? So they should be more fun?
Yeah.
Is that it?
TLDR,
yeah,
dude, it's
they're
dope.
faster.
They're faster. You get more
Taking
stuff. You
the
can
two
actually get
step
more
Rewards.
items.
Yeah.
They have GA
Yeah.
now actually as attainable.
They're
Okay.
more than attainable. They actually scale with level, and the value 258 there versus 60 now. So you're not spamming and getting 92 and never see that chest. So it's going to be scaled with. And they had a video. They showed it for like 3 seconds, but they opened up a chest and there was just spitting loot out of it. So
Cool.
I do think that
Yeah, it should be
overall
way better.
it's gonna feel better, yeah, to play. It's gonna be more that feeling that you have something to do, because I think one of the concerns I had on PTR was that you just had times where you just didn't do anything. You just stood there looking at stuff, waiting for them to spawn, and hopefully this means that it
Yeah.
shouldn't happen as much. So I think
And
we're gonna have to
big-
see.
Big one too.
Yeah,
My
I would-
biggest complaint was like picking up all the ether now that your pet can pick it up as well. Because I felt like I was just roving in a circle trying to find it all because it
Mhm.
wasn't on the mini map.
Oh yeah, that's also a big
Yeah.
change.
I got kind of concerned as well when they said that you would be able to get like about 4 to 5, I think, compasses for like 1 hour of gameplay. Then I just remembered those are bliss math, so I'm guessing with a little bit of optimization, you're gonna get much more than those.
Way more
Because
than that.
PTR was actual hell to get those compasses. Where you would get probably like 10 a day at best.
Well, they also said that you get a 75% chance to get them from dungeons, and we can craft them. I'm sitting on like 70,000 something sigil powder right now. Plus, you can run a nightmare dungeon tier 100 in what 4 minutes. So if it's a
Yeah.
75%, and we're running, 15 to 20 of those an hour, we're definitely going to get more than 4 an hour.
In terms of them being easy to get on PTR, I see the question pop up a little bit. They artificially increased the drop rate for compasses so that we could test the mode itself, and they said that it would be reduced significantly once live actually came about. But we'll see how nerfed it is. It might feel pretty decent still. And like Zarek said, we can craft them now as well, so it should be easier overall. They also
You
increased the drop.
legitimately should have enough sigil powder after your glyphs, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't run many dungeons myself other than to level up glyphs, and I'm sitting on tens of thousands of powder.
Yeah. They also said that it increased the drop rate for abyssal scrolls. Did you guys get any scrolls at all from organic gameplay, or did you only get them from the chest at the end of the Infernal Horde?
Just
Yes.
Yeah, same. I
Didn't
I
do
think
too
it's
many
just-
pits.
I
Didn't do too many
Just
hordes.
materials chest. That's it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
slammed both Hell Tides and pits and stuff to try and get something somewhere. Never saw one at all. So it will be interesting to see if the drop rate is increased overall in the open world, or if it's just in like Infernal Hordes, like from chests,
Well,
Other
if it sucks, it's a 2-month season, so who cares?
true. Another notable
True.
thing is that they added the common herbs and angel breath as potential drops, which we don't really need it as much anymore, but still nice to see that they're going
and
that
removed
route.
it from enchanting. So
What do we do the angel breath for? I don't even know.
Angel
enchanting.
I think it's crafting
Well, now
elixirs.
I mean now.
potions. It's
Oh yeah,
elixirs
it's
and
elixir.
potions and stuff.
Oh yeah, because
Upgrade
this
your
season
potion.
actually accidentally crafted like a bunch of elixirs, forget which, and then I realized, because I thought I had so many, I thought you would keep getting so many angel breaths, and then 1 day later I was crying because I had to do hell diets every single day, every single hour, every single day to like push bits. It was so bad.
Yeah, it's when they
But
fixed you get like when you were losing the instances after dying, you will kind of feel the angel breath starvation.
Yeah,
yeah,
I do like the speaking of hordes. I really like that they're adding those mini hordes into even early world tiers. I think that's a cool way that they're introducing that this season. Um, not that you could have done that with pits per se, but I think that's really cool how they're introducing that for, even though it's not the full mechanic, it gives people additional content while they're leveling that's not just rush to get to one mechanic, spam that mechanic till you're 100, then do other stuff. It at least gives, especially people that are new to the game each season that are going through the campaign, more than just spamming the campaign to get to the next world tier. So I like that a lot.
Makes a lot of sense. What do we think about like these changes that we have seen now? Are you guys happy with how it's looking in Infernal Lords? Obviously, we don't know tuning yet in any capacity, but do you think it's gonna be at least relatively enjoyable to do for a couple of weeks?
The speed and reward, yes, but again, like you said, without knowing how they've tuned them, I don't know that I'm not even ready to talk about it till we see if we're still getting one shot by every single dot on the ground in tier 8, whatever. It's still not going to be fun.
Makes a lot of sense.
It'll be fun for rogues. We don't die, so it'll be fun for rogues. I don't know about the rest.
Yeah, same. I would have to wait in the changes for barbs, the nerfs mostly, and the changes to most of the uniques to see where the tankiness stays at now. But
I think people are overestimating, maybe rightfully so, how bad the defensive nerfs were to Sork after going through a whole season of having a permanent flame shield. But the PTR wasn't that bad, you know. You're gonna get got, but you gotta get them more.
The patch notes are a
yeah,
bit
as a
like
wise man said, get good.
get good, yeah. The patch notes are a bit like I don't know, all over the shop. So we'll just like scroll through it slowly and just talk about the things that come up, sort of. Under general, it says that exploit weakness no longer executes all enemies at any health. Anyone surprised by this change?
No, obviously not.
Yo, they
I guess
gutted
not.
that
You know, there were
passive.
people on the rogue channel who thought like, oh no, they might forget. Like, dude, they're not gonna forget. Like that was way too broken. It's not even fun, you know. So it was
Yeah.
gonna happen. Had to happen.
It was. I would have been so surprised if it went through, you know, like in general, in any capacity. But the change to it. What do you think, Sanctum? Like, do you think it's worthwhile passive now? Do you think it's worse, better than before?
Um,
It's
it's good. I mean, it's so if your
25%
lucky hit is
damage.
really good, right? You stack it up almost instantly. So, for example, like Imperial Barrage will stack it up instantly. So it's basically just 25% damage at all times. Now, a build that doesn't have a lot of lucky hit chance, and isn't naturally good at lucky hit chance, maybe it's not worth taking anymore. You know, like I don't know. No one plays TV, but if TV was played, maybe TV doesn't take that. You know,
Mm.
not sure. I have to do the math, but it's not that great for non-lucky hit builds now. For example, something like Barrage, you don't really have to stack lucky hit much for it to be a lucky hit chance build because it just shoots a million arrows. So it depends. For all the meta builds, it'll probably be used. For the non-meta builds, probably just worse, which kind of sucks. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I do think it's healthier this way than it was before, and it's a little bit more intuitive how much damage you will do, because previously the stacks were tracked on the enemy that you shot or hit, and that's not really easy
Yeah, I
to
agree,
track.
100%.
But it's what it is, I suppose. Like, we'll see how strong it is. I do think it's at least more intuitive and probably better for most cases, apart from bossing. Maybe
Yeah, I like
it's
it.
a slight nerf, but maybe only for bossing.
Yeah, like I said, for bossing, it depends on the build. For clearing, yeah, it's just overall better. For bossing, it's only better on like Imperial Barrage, on probably just Barrage and nothing else. Oh well, Imperial Puncture too.
Hmm.
Everything else is probably slightly worse on bosses. Not too much, but slightly worse.
What about the Bjornfang Tusk being changed to a ring? Anyone have thought about the implications for swapping it to the ring slot instead of having it in gloves? For the context of what that is, it's the Cataclysm passive that makes you get Unlimited
Yeah.
Spirit.
I don't think there's many implications, honestly. I mean, for some builds, right? Like obviously, Lightning Storm now gets to use the gloves, so obviously that's good. But for other ones, I mean, I guess I can give you off the top of my head. For example, for Boulder, it's kind of bad because Boulder now has Boulder has pretty big spirit problems. You know, it's just so expensive to cast. And there's the new temper, which gives you spirit when you cast a wrap skill, which you can masterwork too, you know, and that really solves the problems. But obviously that goes on rings, so it's kind of awkward, especially if you now want also starless because it's just insane. So in that way, it's bad. But in general, I think it's probably neutral or positive for most builds. I'd say because also the glove gives the most damage in general from stats for all the cores and skill builds. So it's probably positive to neutral on all builds except for outliers.
I do find the new gloves. We're gonna look through the items later for each class, like the unique changes, and talk about them. But the gloves having been changed from lucky hit to something else feels very weird for a build like this. Because like this is very much like lightning storm sort of landslide oriented gloves now, like the like, new ring plus the gloves, like the lightning storm gloves, and having the gloves change from lucky hit to something else feels very anti-synergistic based on what they were looking like they were gonna go for in that regard. So I guess we'll have to see how like good it is for what was predicted to be the meta builds. Drop rate
Yeah,
for
but
legendary items as well. What do we think? Was it needed to have
I
a
mean
higher
that's
drop rate?
just.
I
I
think
think
that's
so.
fine. I think it's great.
Well, yeah,
I
because
think it's needed.
you need to dismantle more for enchanting
You have to
now
dismantle
because they're
more
going to
for, yep.
take the items. So that's why they did it, to replace the Angel Breath. Because
And
yeah,
just some more
Forgotten Souls
opportunity to
and
get capped. Yeah, just more
Forgotten
opportunity to get
Souls.
capped aspects too is important. So I think that's a great change, especially considering, when you looked at what, last season people were going weeks before they got all of their capped aspects. This will just help with that. Half the time people are done after a few weeks of this game and people were still not capped on all their aspects. That just didn't feel good.
Like, yeah, I mean, imagine, dude. I was playing so much on season start. I had to beg for people to sell me one of the aspects. How does that make
I-
sense? Like, I was playing all fucking day, and they didn't have my best aspect, the rarest one. I didn't have it. Well, I did have it. It was a really low roll.
I
Yeah.
spent
I still have a 59% frozen orb roll on my wand, dude. I've been at 59% forever.
I spent 4.5 hours, I think, grinding for Wrathmask Chosen just to do attack speed breakpoint stuff. Like certain aspects are like just like way too rare. Like it's crazy, and yet alone getting a high roll for them.
Right.
The last point here on the general one. Previously, only the player who opened the pit would receive full amount of masterworking materials. This penalty for other players has been removed. That's a great change.
A massive dub.
Yeah.
You're no longer punished for playing with your friends.
Yep.
Nothing
That's
negative
going to
is
be
too
big
bad.
on power leveling on top of the like experience boost being like
Mhm.
capped to like plus 30 instead of plus 10. So I'm guessing that's going to be a good change economy wise. It's going to be a good change party wise, as Sarek said. So yeah, big win.
Some quick bug fixes. Barbarian fixed an issue with double swing, did not strike additional times on 5th cast when using twin strikes. Fixed an issue where the exposed vulnerability passive could trigger from basic skills when using the Shard of Varathiel. And fixed an issue where stacks wouldn't be granted from Chrondalucian while channeling Whirlwind. That last one is pretty decent, considering you had to like spam click Whirlwind, right?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. The first two were kind of, let's say, the first one, probably no one noticed it because Twin Strikes, which was the double swing gloves, new uniques that was introduced in season 4, was basically dead on arrival, just due to the fact that it gave you like a chance to proc an additional double swing. That additional double swing will never trigger the Dust Devils. So for a Dust Devils centric build, it was just useless on top of having shit stats, but that got fixed, so maybe for next season. The other one, the exposed vulnerability, yeah, well, just basic bug, so I'm down with it. But indeed, the Crown of Lucian fix for Whirlwind is good because you will have to, like you said, just spam click Whirlwind, which is something people are kind of used to with Season 4, just due to the Dust Devils and Whirlwind interaction. But still, just feels like a healthy change in that regard, so I'm fine with it.
Unsurprising changes, basically. The next bug
Yeah.
fix is probably not a surprise to anyone that saw Poison Creeper on PTR. Fixed an issue where Poison Creeper's damage would scale extremely high when hitting multiple enemies. Anyone saw that, like, barbillion amount of damage clips that were floating around from
Yeah.
DM? This is...
Yeah, it was obviously gonna be gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no way. Necromancer fixed an issue where the aspect of bursting bones didn't properly scale with the effect of Path of Trag'Oul. What is that passive? Or like what's the problem with that?
So the bursting bones is where it did additional damage for when you broke your bone prison walls. Regardless of its scaling, there's not it just doesn't scale that well. I think even though it's fixed, it's not going to be anything that's. I don't foresee it being anything like meta builds or anything. I think it's going to be fun to play around with, but it's not going to be anything spectacular.
And surprising absolutely no one, Rogue has 1 million bug fixes.
I like the Sork bug fixes, bro.
we'll get there, I suppose, as well. The notable ones here, I guess we can scroll down a little bit. Certain stun grenade effects didn't properly function. That's very unsurprising, I suppose.
Why
Advanced.
couldn't they specify? Like, I don't know what they're talking about, you know?
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain because I didn't play around with stun grenades that much on PTR.
So I did. There was one aspect that was shooting 2 grenades instead of 4. It could be that, you know, but I don't know.
I could be the case, yeah.
Who knows?
Something we reported as well a lot was that Advanced Flurry and Momentum lost stacks when you procced like Lucky Hit effects, which was very unfortunate because you proc 6 billion Lucky Hit effects with Flurry builds, so glad it was fixed. There are a bunch of like tempering things that was adjusted, like tempering affix. Let's see, the damage from Dark Shroud was granting more damage than intended, which is, I mean, it was overtuned to hell. How much additive damage did we have? Something like 5k, like all damage, like something absurd.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, I mean, it was way too much. It was like, I mean, if you don't use any uniques, then yeah, it would be like 5k, but it was still like 4k normally. I would say I will say that's a pretty generous wording. Like more damage than intended. I think they just missed on the number, you know.
Yeah,
it was pretty intended.
yeah. It was giving what was like what it said on the can. Like that's exactly what we got, but that was way too high.
Yeah.
Enhanced caltrops being fixed. The damage is now increased like it should be, but as we noted before as well, duration is not supposed to affect the caltrops damage, so that is still sticking. We had some minor things like fundamental blade shift did not daze targets, but stuff like that does not really impact a lot of builds. Advanced Flurry didn't gain damage from its stacks when it was imbued, which is also like one of those weird bugs that is probably like some spaghetti coding. Malice being additive instead of multiplicative is obviously like a big thing, and it's very much explains why we were seeing such crazy results when we were testing in during the PTR as well. It was just not functioning like it should. But yeah, overall, nothing very surprising. I am very surprised that we don't see anything about Victimize here.
Victimize and the totem.
Yeah.
The totem was so bugged. Like, I don't know if the rest of you guys know, but the way the totem was bugged was it was doing damage every half a second, right? 2 times per half a second. And it's supposed to do 30% of your damage. But what was happening was all the hits past the first one, like on that interval, like half second interval, was taking it was doing 100% of the damage. Like it was storing 100% until the next hit, and then it was just unleashing the full 100%. So instead of doing essentially for multi-hit builds, like say barrage shoots 60 arrows at once. So one arrow is worth 30%, and all the rest are worth 100%. So it's just multiplying your damage by 100%, which is kind of silly.
And it works for everyone's damage.
There's nothing about that.
Like
right. It's also party buff like Barber.
So like I can just like drop 2 totems on the ground, be with you guys, and you guys are doing 100% more damage. It's dumb.
It's times 2 because there's 2 totems.
Yeah, like you're increasing your party DPS by 600% by just having a rogue in there. It's not okay.
So I'm hoping they just missed it on the patch notes.
Yeah.
But because that's like a game breaking bug, honestly. So who knows?
We'll just have to see, I suppose. Now we have some glorious sorcerer buffs or bug fixes, I suppose.
Let's see. We got it out.
Fix an issue where
I didn't
enhanced
really.
lightning spear didn't function properly.
Yeah. So that's the double cast and it increases the crit strike chance. I didn't really notice it, so these are like sort of irrelevant, the two lightning spear ones, but the big ones are the axial conduit ones.
Mhm.
So greater chain lightnings where CL it bounces and it does 30% more damage after 3 bounces. So it wasn't getting the benefit from that. The damage was dealing way less than intended, and the bonus chain lightning projectiles did not benefit from axial conduit. I forget exactly what that is, but just the projectile chance to cast twice. But all in all, axial conduit was really bad in the PTR. It was very underwhelming, but I think it's going to be a lot better now. It even got like a little bit of a buff to its base damage, 5%, but it should be good now. We're cooking.
Any other changes that was notable at all for Sorcerer?
In regards to like bug fixes,
Yeah.
There's one way down at the bottom where, so Azarath, we couldn't freeze any enemies, so like those weren't really working, but we didn't notice that. I don't think Azarath's going to get used much. And then the only other bug fix was the biggest one is Shatter. So
Mm.
Shatter, you freeze all the enemies, and they used to like cascade damage into each other, and it would exponentially go each time it like hit a bunch of enemies. That doesn't do it anymore. There's no more double dipping like that. So I think Shatter, which was the passive that enabled Sork to do like I think Makuna did a T170 solo. That's gone. So all of Sork is balanced now. We're very tight band.
How about the what about the flame shield enchantment? Like apparently it was not functioning properly. Do you know anything about it?
Nah, nobody uses that. And even that new aspect with the Flame Shield, nobody uses that. Flame Shield chant was only ever used in hardcore as a cheat death. Yeah, I don't even have Flame Shield on any of my builds. I have it on one build. I'm just not using it anymore. The whole downtime thing, I don't know. We'll see. It might make its way back in because of the boss debuff thing that can get applied to you. You might want to dodge it, but we'll see.
Okay. You already touched a little bit about the Asherath bug fix that it didn't proc the freeze for Druid and Sorcerers, which is a very specific thing. It might be something about like them now recently being able to equip them properly.
That's definitely what it is.
Apparently, some unique items would be account bound when pick up. There's like some minor fixes overall that wouldn't really impact a lot of people. The one thing that we did see when doing testing as well, which made pit testing very questionable at best, was the change, was a problem where if you would die, the boss health would be reduced. They've put it here in an explicit bug fix that it's not going to be the case, obviously. But what do you think about that as a mechanic overall? Like not saying that it should be a thing, but like that the boss fight would get easier if you die versus it. Do you think it's something that?
Nah,
No.
no, because you'd go in
It's
and you
just a
die. You take that
mistake.
30-second loss. We'd be doing math to see like how many times should we? What's the optimal number of deaths?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's true.
5%. Yeah.
30 seconds a
Nah.
minute. If we could just one shot it with 3 seconds left on the.
Well, here's my pushing guide. You need to go in. You need to die 2 times, but you can die 3 if you have 9 minutes on the clock. But if you're under 7.5, you can only die twice.
Do you know what other game that has this mechanic and is basically abused the same way? WoW and LFR. Like literally the entire raid just goes suicide like a bunch of times versus hard bosses just to get a bunch of like stacks, and you just go bonk and just kill the boss like much easier. It's like the weirdest mechanic. Like people when they have a way to make something easier, they just go do it, even though it takes longer overall to just do it that way. They just let's just die a bunch of times. Who cares, you know?
Fair.
Fix an issue where non-boss monsters in the pit would gain the damage reduction buff applied to bosses. What do you think about this?
You could definitely tell when you
Oh yeah,
come
they were
some
tanky
on
as
some of the
shit.
packs and they just wouldn't die. You know, with me playing Bone Spirit in the PTR, especially like I'm one-shotting all this stuff with 10 billion hits, and suddenly one pack is taking 50 billion hits. It was a little wild. It was a little, especially for pushing, it was a little frustrating. Making great progress, because one thing with when you're pushing, if you're having to spend an extra 4 or 5 shots on a pack, that's 4 or 5 more times that you have that something can one shot you. So I think it's great that they're fixing things like that.
What I reacted to is like, what damage reduction buff to bosses? That's the interesting part for me, because like obviously we've expected that bosses take less damage overall because of the weird scaling, but this also states that there is a explicit damage reduction for bosses that works differently from enemy damage reduction, right? So it's not just a function of health; it's also a function of DER. That's
No
what
wonder
I
they take 7 years to kill.
Yeah, and I think that's like the kind of actually interesting, because then it's very difficult to understand how the scaling actually works in terms of like time to kill bosses, because like you don't know if it's gonna be like random. Oh well, this boss now takes 70% reduced damage at pit level 170, whatever. It's gonna be interesting to see if we can actually try and figure that out, seeing as it seems to be a thing overall. Was there anything interesting for tempering for all classes?
I like that they're
Everyone
adding stuff. Yeah, like I don't have to make a rogue if I want to make a Sever build this season.
And what's great for Sork is on a lot of, we're so good at applying vulnerable, and we usually have like 100% crit chance or close to. So when you're tempering that worldly one, you either hit critical strike or you hit vulnerable, and you can just stop. Like either's fine unless you're doing like a splintering build that wants crit. So it's like you have a 50-50 chance to get something you want and can use.
I do find them kind of interesting that they're like Hydra lucky hit chance and like ice play, like very
Those are
niche. I mean, obviously not gonna be
it's
used
it's a
maybe, but
utility. No, I don't think they'll be used at all. Maybe their idea was like, let's give it lucky hit so you can use Frost Nova enchant or something. And nobody, you just don't use that. You don't need the freeze. Honestly, you just put a utility, a lucky hit chance to do some form of CC temper, and it doesn't really matter what you get. Stun, freeze, a mob, who cares?
that's fair enough. What about the rogue tempering manual, Sanctum? Was anything that like stood out to you as like this is bonkers?
No, I mean, because they fixed the Dark Cloud one. So what is nice is that most of the manuals are just smaller now. They used to all be huge. Um, more than other classes, And they're smaller now, which is always good. Although with so many uniques on our gear, I don't know if it even matters much, but it's always nice. But other than that, nah, I don't think there's. Well, I guess okay. I mean, it was already on the PTR, but the second wind one is obviously insane.
Mm. I do find it interesting to
And I
have.
guess one nice buff.
Go on.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I was gonna say, one nice one is that flurry size. Apparently, from what I understood, will be on armor now, which
That's
I guess is
stupid,
a
dude.
nice, decent. It's a decent buff for flurry.
No, it's a great change, and I'm pissed because they're like, oh, flurry size, that doesn't really increase damage, and it's like, okay, that's all, like half of Sork's skills are like incinerate size, firewall size, blizzard size, like that's our. So like blizzard can't even use, doesn't even have like a weapon temper. You just take lucky hit chance to deal cold, or you would take poison or shadow to get
Nice.
Rasha stacks. So it's like
Yeah.
blizzard size hurts the damage. Shotgun spread.
Look, it's our time to shine. Sorks suck.
You know what
You're
I
not getting
would.
any
Nah, we're
love.
gonna
You know what I would
Get
have
used
liked
to
to
it.
we're gonna
see on
sit.
this shit though? I would have loved to see Twisting Blade size on this, like as an addition to this. Because Twisting Blade,
Oh yeah.
like Twisting Blade size or like strike twice. Because like, imagine if you're playing Blade Dancer and you have strike twice for Twisting Blades, and you just get like basically double spins for every single time you proc it. Like stuff like that would be super cool for Twisting Blades because it needs something right now. Like
I'm kind of surprised that they didn't add anything, honestly.
Yeah.
for Twisting Blades.
I'm
Well,
very surprised as well.
yeah. That's what
I
it
do.
is.
I don't wonder how it's gonna feel like the scaling for maximum life percentage gain when you have Dark Shroud active, because apparently they fixed it now because it didn't activate on PTR.
Yeah, I mean, so it's good. I mean, like, if we're talking like EHP wise, it's technically worse than dodge, but obviously maximum life is a bit better because it works against one shots. You know, it's good. The thing is, ranks of second wind is just way better. So
True.
it's not comparable. You just gotta take ranks of second wind on every armor slot you can,
Yeah.
basically.
I do think that like the not cool thing, but a good thing about that temper as well, the max life one, is that it complements the downside of running Dark Shroud, which is that you don't get any DR versus dots. So even if you do get dodge chance, it's like okay, you dodge and you take a lot of reduced damage versus direct damage, but you're still getting smoked by dots. And max life kind of helps a little bit at least, makes it a little bit less annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
What
Yeah.
about Necromancer then? Anything new on the tempering side of things?
Just being able to get, like I said, being able to get the crit damage is huge. But other than that, I mean, there were some things in the PTR that didn't really make sense. Like we got the curse aspect where our curse is always active for with that aspect, but the increased temper size doesn't work for it. So there's some things that certainly have intuitive interactions, but overall nothing crazy. There's nothing really exciting either.
You mean that the aspect of creeping mist where you're like evading and traveling twice as far is not exciting?
Not. I mean, they brought that up on the campfire, and it's like, yeah, you get 50,000 dashes. Yes, but Necro can do no damage while you're doing that. So what are you going to do? Run around not killing anything for an entire pit and run out your timer? It's pointless.
Hey,
It
but
didn't
I'll put
even make
it
for a
into
good
perspective.
video.
Right. So what was the damage on the aspect? 20k, right? 20k.
Something like that.
Let's say you can evade. Let's say you're like I don't know, Michael Jackson dancing, and you can evade 5 times per second. Yeah, that's 100k. And Dariel's Visage does 140k, and you can proc it like 15 to 20 times per second.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I'm
So-
invincible, but
Yeah.
to what
Yeah.
extent? Like it's just it's not even that cool to me. Yes, everybody screams about Necro movement speed, but what is the point of moving if you're doing nothing? I'm not playing like
Yeah.
a running simulator. That's what the gauntlets were. We're out of that. Let's.
it's fine. Just
I'm
stack
not at all
pets.
impressed with that.
Just have your pets hit.
Yeah.
while you're vulnerable.
True.
No, I do agree. It's a weird one, but it's I think it's good that they're at
It
least
is.
trying more stuff. Just kind of missed the mark on this one, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tried, man. They tried.
They tried. I don't know what I feel about the Druid tempers. Like Cataclysm cooldown reduction stuff is like, I mean, it's
The
okay.
Cataclysm one is good, obviously, right? Because of the new rank. Wait, give me a second.
Well, I think like in general, having the cooldown for ultimates is always kind of nice. It also depends on how much cooldown we do get overall, because now with the new Shaco, it's cooldown value might be in the bin. So we'll have to see what builds are running specific things.
I'm considering, besides if the build has a focus, like Amulet, I'm not taking cooldown there. I'm just gonna tell people, like, dude, just go get yourself a Shaco. Go do it. And now that they cost less Stygian or Stygian stones, whatever it is, I think it's gonna be a lot easier to get Shaco. Get a Shaco, man. And it's a unique. Hit your 3 Masterworks on the crit. You can do it. Or hit 2. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of got the. Like I reminded myself whenever I saw during the season 4 patch note, cooldown reduction is now capped at 75%, and I was like, who the fuck is
Why?
gonna reach that amount?
You are now.
And now we know.
With one
Mhm.
item, you are there.
54, baby.
Yeah. Barbarian had the largest patch notes here for tempering and aspects. You have one entire aspect and one entire manual.
All right, so actually there's like 3 more changes. So, but well, so basically aspect of forward momentum. Knocking back an enemy is giving you movement speed. All right, so Pez just posted about the theme of the season journey on X. For Barbarian, it's weapon swapping and knockback. So it streams Walking Arsenal. The reason being, every single knockback skills for Barbarians are brawling skills, namely kick. However, it's only only deals knockback if you do not use power kick, which everyone uses. So not gonna be used. Leap as well. Okay, so that's kind of good, but they nerfed Rumble, so we're not expecting Earthquakes to deal like a shit ton of damage. Beside the obvious more duration, less damage fix on Earthquakes. And the last one is Charge, which got gutted after season 3 because people were whining about Barbarian charging across the screen. So
Very much like it's understandably so.
yeah, it was deserved. So regarding those, the first thing is there's a typo in the patch note. Charge cooldown is not getting reduced from 13 seconds to 9. It's kick. Sorry, boys. Charge is not back on the menu. Kick, we'll see how it goes. We can probably play with it a little bit. Leap should be good as well due to the earthquake changes. However, it's still going to be capped, so Torn Boys, don't get your hopes up in that regard. And if we just get back to tempering, Bash Cleave Temper is now 20% of what it was, so I'm guessing it's mostly done to counterbalance the Shard of Raphael plus Crown of Lucian buff.
Mm.
Flay, I'm guessing, also gets a typo there. They said they were moving it from utility to weapon temper slot. However, it was the opposite in the PTR, and on the actual live server, it's already on weapon. So I'm expecting Flay duration to be moved to utility slot, not what they said. And the last one is probably the biggest one. The Barbarian protection temper is gone, so no more rank 20 times 6% max HP per rank. No more 100% reduced elite and PvP damage.
Oh, I'm so surprised that they made this change. Like,
So, well, basically, Torn Boys, you fucked. PvP Boys, you fucked, but Sorks no longer have Invuln Flame Shield, so it's no longer gonna be Invuln versus Invuln. Congrats on that. Good balance for PvP, I guess.
Dodge chance, boys. Stocks up.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to deal yourselves damage, boys. Good. And I'm guessing basically for the PvE part, we'll have to wait and see. Like, I'm kind of concerned about the toughness. Let's say like EHP nerfs due to losing Barbarian protection, because one of the like escape we would have been to just like temper resistances for barbs at least instead of those. The only issue we're getting there is that most of those new uniques or reworked uniques have like a shit ton of resistances. So I guess we can just get barrier generation and probably like the defensive cooldowns, but we'll see where it goes because cooldowns also going up. So I'm kind of concerned about the defensive temper we're going to be using now for barbs, because if we don't use resistances, if we don't use cooldown because we capped, then I'm not sure what's left. So yeah, that's pretty much about it for temper nerfs and changes for barbs.
so it was like one thing in the actual notes, but it was like 4 million when we actually started like listing them. That's actually kind of interesting. When it comes to balance updates for Barbarian? Is it like anything notable that you want to talk about, or is it just red all across?
Oh shit. Okay, there's a lot. I'll try to keep it simple and just try to think in a build logic. Basically Bash, still gonna be fine. You're not gonna be seeing as much Bash build variety as before. Like there's not gonna be a dual wield, poor harm, grandfather, bleeds, one-handed mace plus one-handed axe, 100 mace plus Remaladni, etc., etc. That's probably just gonna be like 2 or 3 Bash variants, and that's about it. Regarding Flay, she'll be fine still. Heavily gonna depends on how they changed Gushing Wounds. For those unknown of Gushing Wounds, basically was an absolutely stupid multiplier that would use your stat sheet CSD to multiply your bleed damage. That multiplier has been gutted in half and is now using a additive part. We have no idea whether it still uses the stat sheet value or not, which was artificially increased by grandfather, heavy-handed, and stuff like that. So I'm still expecting Flay to be good. It's still got Verafiel. The temper got moved to utility slot, so that's more tempers. Still good. We'll see there. Regarding the other changes, I'm expecting Rand to be coming back due to the changes to the ring, unique ring, and the slight buff on Rand as well. Same goes for, I mentioned it earlier, but Leapquake. And probably Kota, finally there. Let's go. The changes to Hota make some interesting things. Basically, the base damage to Hota is good, but mostly the change to the aspect of Hota, which basically allows it to deal like basically double damage to bosses. So that part is kind of good. The Furious Hammer of the Ancient changes, giving you basically like a knockdown, gives us some interesting interactions with aspect of Retribution, which, as you all know, gives you the bonus for both stunned and knockback enemies. So it's Hota is 200 mace, stun is a given. Giving us a knockdown on top of it is basically another mort. So that part is good. Regarding the rest, Upheaval is probably back on the menu finally after 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons plus season 0. The base damage buff is absolutely substantial. It's good at every single part of the game, early on, mid game, end game. The changes to the Upheaval unique are gonna be amazing as well. So that part is good. Tactical ground stomp. Ground stomp is shit. Don't use it. Iron Skin was already the challenging shot on steroid version, so giving us another buff there. Undeserved, but we'll take it. Let's go. Perma barrier all the time. Equal invulnerable barbs. The change to tactical challenging shout is kind of interesting because that thing was not very used, but was one of the only Fury generation subsource that worked for Dust Devils. So kind of interesting. It was one of the only Fury generation subsource that worked with basically resource generation modifiers and aspects. The kick thingy is the typo I mentioned earlier. It's kick cooldown that is getting reduced. And for the passives, well, Imposing Presence nerf is kinda undeserved since they removed the temper, but we'll get it. Endless Fury change is very good because there have been like a lot of changes and a lot of resource generation affixes removed from uniques. So we're gonna have to make up for that. Thick Skin probably we're gonna get back to just using 1 point there because of the max HP nerfs from the temper removed. We're no longer gonna be able to like perma fortify due to having like 400k HP. So that part's probably gone. We'll have to see how good we can temper the buffed Doombringer and whether it makes up for it, but I don't know. Concussion, who cares? Just for staggering bosses, I guess. It's a small nerf. Unconstrained, well, Keystone passives, basically. All of them have been gutted. It's not a... It's still gonna be worth taking those. Unconstrained is not gonna be just 8% damage buff. It's gonna be like a little bit more than that. I think I was talking about ice with Icy earlier about like a 20% relative damage buff, so still good. Is it worth a keystone point? Not sure about that, but we'll take it. Unbridled Rage. My sweet 2023 Summer Child went from 135% multiplier damage to 45% now, for double the cost. I don't think it's gonna be that much used in Season 5 due to most of the resource generation sources being nerfed and just the multipliers themselves being nerfed. I think the cost is gonna be unbearable, so we'll see. Walking Arsenal, well, they said we nerfed it because we nerfed every single other Keystone passive. So I'll take it. Probably not gonna be used that much if they don't fix the the base issue of Walking Arsenal being half Walking Arsenal related skills don't use a weapon and you need to swap weapons. So kinda stupid. And Gushing Wound, as I said. Is it still gonna be as good as Season 4? No, definitely not. Is it still gonna be good? Yes. Is it still gonna be like the go-to endgame? I honestly don't know. We're still cooking in that regard. And for the aspects below, Steadfast Berserker good, and the rest, Ancestral Force good, as I said for Hota. Upheaval Change is good. Gore is gore, so we'll see. Hemorrhage nerf, well, bleed nerfs deserved, but we knew it. Weapon Master, I don't know. Blood Feeder is kind of good. Still probably not gonna be affecting Gushing Wound because it's conditional crit damage, crit chance, sorry. So who cares? Dominate Glyph is kinda interesting. I see that they want Overpower to be back on the menu for Barbs, so I kinda like that change. But once again, the nerf to max HP might just affect Overpower more than we think, so not sure if it's gonna be a go-to glyph. We'll see there. Executioner, once again, this one is a surprise, to be honest. Given how much Pulled Harm is popular at the moment for Barbarian Bleed builds, I have no idea why they buffed it, but whatever, I guess. And the rest is been mentioned already. All right, done. Let's go Sanctum. Go for the Druids.
The Druid.
I mean, I think Druid in general is like the takeaway is like they are buffing builds like Landslide that is already looking like it was gonna be basically the go-to builds for a lot of Druids next season, at least the strongest. Which is interesting. Adding clarity to amulets is also just makes sense. I mean, these basically like numerical buffs for most of their kit, which is
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
good.
but it's compensating for shepherds. You know?
Yeah.
So
And
it's a
then
buff. Not a huge one, but it's a buff.
yeah, some quality of life stuff as well, like Ravens and Poison Creeper being cast while moving. But
You know what I don't get? Why didn't they do that for Boulder? Yeah.
that's true. That's actually very true.
You know, it's like it's, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, what the fuck? Dude, Incinerate still can't cast while moving. This is bullshit.
I think
Alright.
Sorcerer is the one class on this planet that cannot ever complain about mobility. It's just not allowed. It's just you.
And Incinerate is the one build where we can complain because you literally have to plant yourself.
That's
You literally have to use Soul Brand so that you can keep applying Barrier while you're channeling because the damage ramps while you channel. I digress.
The Rabies change is also pretty nice. That it spreads further because I think like one of the problems with Rabies builds was that like if the distance between two enemies was like just slightly too far, it's like whoop, Rabies stop spreading for no reason. So like having it baked into natural Rabies and having the spread faster be a part of the core's functionality is pretty good. The Cataclysm change is kind of interesting that you get essentially like more lightning strikes, and it wasn't that basically because of the bug that we found. Basically, that Cataclysm had guaranteed strikes, which made it go crazy with lucky hits, and they were like, "Huh, we should probably have that as a function, like actual function of the spell, you know, instead of just having lightning strikes randomly miss, they just have them hit more, which makes a lot of sense." One of the most annoying things when testing things on Druid with things like Rune Worker is the fact that you can have one target near you, you proc Rune Worker, which is supposed to call down like lightning strikes on targets. And I was trying to hit Bob with lightning strikes in PvP. First, you know, we were trying the DER tracking and stuff, and our lightning strikes kept on hitting next to them instead of on top of them when it's the only target available, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
So having stuff actually hit like it's supposed to, it feels pretty good.
It's a low bar. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Having stuff hit is a low bar.
that is true. One thing I don't like with the Grizzly Rage thing is like that the cooldown for it starts after the Grizzly Rage ends. I don't even think like this was like much of a
I
problem.
hate it. No, I hate it. It was already pretty weak.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a popular one. I know people like being Grizzly Rage form. When it used to be strong, it was fun. But yeah, I don't know why they nerfed it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me, honestly.
I do think stuff like the build ticketing reward having its DR decrease makes sense because they have such high uptime on it now. So if they're trying to make DR
Yeah.
like less centralized in one singular skill, then it kind of makes sense. Generally speaking, there are like some changes that are good, like Perfect Storm being high multiplier, or than might having high like core chance, like lucky chance. Fundamental changes to stuff like Shepherds is good. I'm not. I mean, it's good that Shepherds is like no longer buffs your damage because it puts less emphasis on having every single companion in every single build. Having every build have 3 companions just because it's the strongest multiplier feels bad. But with how bugged and broken the companions were in terms of like actually functioning and scaling like they should, I'm not super convinced about this being a good change overall. I mean, it's good for variety, but Shepherds might be underused now, depending on how good companions can actually scale.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the buff in terms of, I mean, the change in terms of design philosophy. But yeah, I'm not sure how much it will be used, how good companion builds will be, honestly.
Yeah.
We need some more love, probably.
For the rest of these, there are like small changes here and there, mostly numerical stuff. But obviously, Druid is looking stronger than it did in Season 4. So we'll see how strong it is when we actually have the final stuff and get a chance to play Season 5. Necromancer. Anything enjoyable for Necromancer?
Bone Spirit. So you can kind of see where they were going with some of the changes that they were for like blood, for example. You can see what they were doing, trying to bring blood up to even somewhat comparable state. But all they did by doing that was increased the bone spirit. Again, we talked about this, the last PTR, but or during the PTR, but all the things that they increase blood with, for example, like increasing bloodbath. Cool, you doubled that multiplier. Well, guess how frequently blood builds overpower compared to bone spirit? Well, 25% of the time, 30% of the time versus 100% of the time. Same thing for blood moon breaches, but in the same conversation that you can see that they were increasing or trying to make changes for the positive, they made changes to certain uniques that actually directly did the opposite of what they were doing, like the change to Banished Lord's Talisman completely negates some of the changes that they tried to do to increase them, because blood builds need crit chance. They got rid of crit chance on that build. Blood builds incredibly need the resource gen. They got rid of that on their amulet. So while they made some strides in the right direction, it really didn't change anything at all in the meta. Sever is going to be really strong. The new changes to Starless by itself, and I know we'll get to all that, but Sever is going to be really strong. Blood's still going to be middle of the road. There were some good changes to try to catch it up, but it's just not enough. Shadow's dead. Druids and Sorcs, they had their Paragon node increase the cap. They did not increase the Wither cap. They left it alone. So Shadow build's just not in a good place. Blood builds are not really in a great place. Minions are going to be okay. But it's just really going to be Bone Spirit for Necro right now.
Do you think the lucky hit addition to some of the skills will do anything for the builds? Like,
to some degree. I mean, I've been saying since season 0 that Sever needed to have a similar lucky hit to Bone Spirit in the first place. I mean, they play similarly. They're both crit-based builds when you're really getting them to where they, Sever, if you're trying to get its maximum damage, you're going to run crit. Well, when you had half the lucky hit chance that most of the stuff was getting these procs to go off of, it just doesn't make sense. So I do think it's good. There's not a lot of lucky hit mechanics right now that are that impactful for Necromancer. A lot of the stuff that we use lucky hit chance for example, would have been like even Bone Spear and Sever, getting those lucky hit chance procs on the resource gen. Well, the resource gen is solved now in so many different ways. So the Necro's lucky hit chance just isn't that. It's very underwhelming, to say the least. So I do think that having the increased lucky hit chance was cool 3 seasons ago. Now it's just like, well, this should have been done 3 seasons ago. What are we going to use it for now? So I don't think it's going to be that impactful. The stuff that is going to be impactful, though, are the builds that are going to be using some of these new uniques that weren't nerfed. And I know we're going through the uniques in a minute, so I'm not going to dive into those because that's a whole other conversation. Just very, we've been talking for a month now. Like, let's wait to see the patch notes. Let's wait to see the patch notes based off all these nerfs. And quite frankly, the changes that we waited for to see if the uniques met the nerfs that we received didn't get there. When they were talking, well, all these uniques are going to be so powerful. Well, they're not, because the necro-specific uniques that we were assuming would bring us back into contention with some of these builds, quite frankly, don't make sense. So when we get to the uniques, I'll go a little bit more in detail on that, but that's just where I'm at right now. I don't think this is probably the worst state Necro has ever been in the game, is this season. And it's not a good feeling. I know Larkins joked about it before that, Sark's got nothing going for him, but this is it for Necro. This is the worst we've ever been in, and there's no bright spot to it other than Bone Spirit.
Hey, my
I
tune
got a
is
question for you.
my tune has changed, man. We are chilling.
Got a question for you though, Sirak. With all these lucky hit changes on top of the offhand implicit being changed to lucky hit, is it gonna make like X-Files build good for Necro once again?
No, because they changed X-Files. When we get to that, I'll talk about when we get to X-Files, we can talk about how it doesn't. Because you had a great point, because that's been asked for me since season 2. Like, is X-Files good again for Necro? Nope, still not. You know, for example, they left damage over time on that item.
Yeah.
Why? You can't scale in this. There is no possible way to scale both crit damage and dot damage to make either one of them good. You can't scale them both at the same
Yeah.
time. And so, you know, yeah, it's going to proc more, but why? Like, what's the? It's not doing any damage. There's absolutely no point in doing it. And one of the
Okay.
reasons that it did so much damage was because we had blighted aspect to go with it. Well, blighted aspect is absolutely garbage tier now, so that doesn't make any sense. So no, you know, unfortunately, that is nothing that was changed makes that even throwing on a GA triple crit. Fist of Fate gloves, that lucky hit chance still doesn't matter because the damage itself just has such a poor ceiling.
Makes sense, indeed.
I'm scrolling through the rogue changes overall because the leaked information that we were allowed to share as Diablo partners, that's it. That's the rogue changes. Wait, actually,
Yeah, I
this
guess I could
is a change.
summarize.
This is a good change. Weapon mastery is slightly more effective.
Yeah. I mean, for rogue, I guess flip notes. You know, flurry actually good now. Not this year, but it's good. You know, it's a good build now. I mean, we can go over once we see the items, but Imperial Barrage will be extremely strong. Imperial Puncture will be extremely strong. Heartseeker, we don't know. I mean, because Victimized was bugged on the PPR. They didn't say anything about it, so I'm going to assume it's still bugged. So Heartseeker is bad. Penshot is bad because of the same reason. What else? I guess Rapid Fire is good. Got buffed even. It was one of the best builds that got buffed. Rogue will be overall extremely strong. Probably the best class, if I would have to guess.
All right.
Um,
In the
What?
PTR, I made a Heartseeker Rogue, spent about an hour rolling gear, and I like made my own Paragon. I did all the things, and I like was doing more damage than my fully kitted Arclash Sork with like dog
Yeah.
shit gear with 180% Varathiels. I think Heartseeker might be okay. Might be okay.
I mean, it'll be okay. I mean, I guess
Okay.
Rogue, you know, Rogue is not Sork. It's a different standard, you know.
It did. I will tell you what. It did feel like shit to play.
So
Like it's not
Yeah,
as
I mean,
smooth.
the big
Yeah.
problem with Heartseeker is it lives and dies by Victimize, and since we didn't see anything
Yeah.
in PTR like in these notes, we're just gonna have to see in which state we get Victimize on live. But as it was on PTR, Heartseeker is dead, like dead. Like it's comparatively to the
What
other
do you mean? I
builds,
was
it just
Dude,
tonked.
I don't know
at
if
base,
that
it was
it'll
hitting
be,
for like 50 million with like crap
I
gear.
mean, it can hit for more than that, but
Oh, it's crap. It only hits for 75 million, 100 million a
but you're
hit.
still hitting like single target mobs, you know. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Whatever.
it'll be good. It won't be bad. I mean, relative to Necro, it'll be good. Relative to Druid, it'll probably be decent, good. Relative to Slurk, I mean, we'll see. I don't know how Slurk will be, but you know, but relative to the rest of the rogue builds, they'll be bad, honestly. Because Rogue's just maybe it's a bit too OP. No,
You're
yeah, it's
next.
probably a
You're
bit
the
too
new
OP.
Barb. You're the new Barb, big dog. You're
Yeah,
done for.
we're the new bar, you know. We waited, and now we're the
Enjoy
barbs.
it.
I
Enjoy
do
it. Now we
think
still love you.
I do think the sad part about Victimize is basically like there are certain build archetypes in the game right now that live and die by specific passives working or specific item combinations working, and you can make just raw damage from Heartseeker work. The problem is that a big factor to its clear or effective clear was from Victimize. Now, you can still probably make a very hard hitting Heartseeker build that probably functions and does respectfully, especially compared to the weaker classes, but it's like a magnitude difference for Victimize right now on PTR. Like I think it was like 1/5 of the damage I did with Victimize going from live to PTR when I just imported the character. Is like it was a massive like reduction. Um, we also noticed that essentially Victimize scales the same way Pain Gorger does, which is 90% of the fucking scalings for it is dead. You know, it doesn't work. So we'll just have to see, I suppose. Now, Lurkin, it's been a good 20 minutes since you were allowed to speak for longer than 30 seconds. What about Sork?
All right, here we go. Let's see. I got my little nifty thing up. I did some maths. Let's take a look, see what we got. Okay, Charge Bolt, 50% buff. We'll go on it later. Lamb Essen is back in business. It's looking great. Enhanced Charge Bolts, I don't know, some buff or something. Looks great. Spark's really only going to be used in the Splintering build to make all the Lightning Spears, but the little damage buff is fine. We can go on to Hydra. Let's see. So Hydra went from 14 to 16%, as we already saw. That is a 14.2% buff, and then Summon Hydra 60 to 100%. That's a 66% buff. Now Hydra gets all the heads. It's going to be ripping. It's going to do a lot of damage. Infernal base damage increased. We don't care. All right, Firewall. Let's see. Firewall 160 to 230. That's a 43.75% increase from the base. Meteor 80 to 96. That's a 20% increase. Incinerate 84 to 101. Let's see. Where's my Incinerate? That's a 20.2% increase. Fireball 60 to 66. That's 10%. Flickering Arc Lash 50% buff to the skill now when you're hitting bosses. That's amazing. Chain Lightning. Sorry, I'm just ripping. Chain Lightning. It's a 19.44% buff, so that's huge. We can just keep going down. I'm just gonna look at the changes. The Ice Armor changes. So that should say 56%. So basically, when you have Shaco on and you pop Ice Armor, you now just have like a max life barrier because of protection as well. So like you use Ice Armor, 100% life barrier. Let's see. I think Enhanced Lightning Spear, whatever. Blizzard, that doesn't matter because that's not Blizzard's damage. All Blizzard's damage is from the Ice Spikes. Ball Lightning, 20 to 24%. That's a 20% increase. Ice Shards, 32 to 36, 12.5% more damage. Frozen Orb, that's a 22% increase. So just huge buffs to all the skills. And then, Combustion went, burning damage went from 20 to 60%. The Verse Mastery is kind of cool now. You can use it basically on anything as long as you can charge yourself and have good crit chance. So that's still going. And Shatter, you can keep going down. And Shatter is dead. Yes. I hated Shatter so much, even though it was the best thing. But actually, a really cool one here is this Warmth buff. So Warmth's always been kind of a meme, but now, because you can get like Warmth tempers, so you can be healing yourself like 50, 60% per second, like when you're next to a boss.
That's crazy.
So if you don't get one shot, you're just going to immediately heal up to full. So Warmth, if you're using Firebolt enchant, Warmth is going to be the play. The Mana Shield was really nice, so you're going to get 30% DR just from playing the game. Go down to Splintering. So that's what I was doing earlier. So we didn't understand this change because it used to be like a value, like when you had it on an amulet with a sword, it was a value of like 2,600. And I did a bunch of math on the 83, and it's the same value. They were just changing it from the X that said 2,600 to when you work out the math, 55% is 2,600 again on the amulet. So there was no change to Splintering. We were really confused, and I figured it out.
That's good.
Snowveiled's looking really good. It's going to be the new de facto defensive aspect. Like if you want two defensives, you're going to run Concentration and you're going to run Snowveiled. And that's going to be 50% DR because they're both 25. Burning Instinct's now 80%, and you're only going to need 1,600 int to cap it. They ignore the crit damage that crit strike bonus, whatever. It's irrelevant. Ceaseless Conduit. I don't care. I don't know. We got one guy who's going to be making a Crackling Energy build, but we'll see. We'll see. Elemental Summoner, it's right back to where it used to be because you used to only get 60%, like 60, 67%. So that's right back to where it was before the nerfs. Icefall, a little bit of a buff. Unleash a little bit. But the big ones, yeah, Searing Heat and Frigid Fate. They went from 30 to 60%. So that's like the Frigid Fate is a huge boon to every build because every single build runs it, every board. All right, yeah, Sork's looking like even before we talk about the unique changes, like twice as strong on like, 2 to 2.5, 3 times as strong on like every build, and then we get unique changes. We're gonna be cooking. We're gonna go up at least 10 pit tiers, baby.
I guess we talked a little bit about the tempering update, so I think we should just probably swap it. Change it. Skip it rather. Let's scroll all the way down to the thing that we probably care the most about, which is all the way down here. Now let's see how I can do this properly and not mess this up. Let's see.
You have to do a lot of clicking and exiting out.
I'm gonna see if I can do just so. Nope. All right, hold on. This is gonna be interesting. Let's see. I'll just do this instead.
Yeah, I have a tab open. I have a window open with like 30 windows that has every unique that I care about. Do a PowerPoint.
All right, let's
Look at that shit, dude. That's busted.
let's blast this. So, what do we think about the little starless increase?
Crazy. In every single core build, and there you go.
It's
Yep.
+2 to core skills too. Like because Sorcerer was always we ended up dropping Starless this season because we wanted all the attack speed so that we could get the Immortal from the Ice Blades chopping. And now I did some math. So like if you take just as non-GA, if you do 3 crits on attack speed, you'll be at 38.5 attack speed with around 18 crit chance. And if you do 3 crits on crit instead of attack speed, you'll be at 25.5 attack speed and 27.5 crit chance. So like, that's pretty crazy.
Honestly, like me looking at this ring, it's like if you're using a core skill at all, you're using this item. Like it feels like that impactful now. I mean, it was always good, but like this is crazy.
Yeah, it has a real crit chance value now too. Because I hate how they always gimp the crit chance value on rings. It makes me never want to take it on a ring. I'm like, 8.7.
Yeah. Wait, what? Heal. Let's see.
So this is pretty big for bringing Sever back into the mix and Bone Spear. The attack speed, like you guys said, is huge, and the crit strike chance is great. But this is just massive for Sever and Bone Spear, which have really underperformed for several seasons now.
It just like solves all mana problems like instantly.
Yeah.
Every build basically.
Yeah, that thing is actually, I think, the main point about Starless for Season 5. Like, as I said earlier, since they removed most of the resource gen affixes like on stuff like Shaco and other uniques, like the BLT amulet, I'm gonna feel like it's gonna be mandatory to run those to run just basically Starless and get resource cost reduction for core scale build.
Yeah, Shaco Starless. Every single Sorc build besides like 2.
You mean to tell me that Shaker is gonna be strong?
Yeah, 44%. I love that it has armor now too, but now the question is, what do I put on my pants? Dodge
Yeah.
is in max life. There's no because we don't take resists. Like dodge chance.
In
242
my
life
opinion,
per
that
second.
thing is absolutely busted. Just beside the obvious cooldown reduction, as most of you guys know, we can get up to like 53.7% CDR with like triple temper and GA. I feel like the max life being buffed is still like a good thing to take. It's still like double the value you would have on any other piece. The armor, it just saves one affix for everyone, so I'm like, what's up about that? But sure. And then the one thing I'm concerned about is the max resource. For Barbs, I see it as a global win. For some builds, an absolute win. But I have no idea for other classes. What's your relation with max resource?
Yeah,
Well, they put it on everything now.
Yeah, they put it on
Yeah.
Grandfather as well, but
I much preferred the resource gen on the Shaco than max resource.
Same.
Yeah, resource gen was really nice.
And they the amount of places that they're adding this max resource now, it just doesn't feel good. Like this is me coming from the build that actually scales the highest off of max resource than any of the other builds, but
I don't like it in all these places.
I think it's interesting because the only time where rogues would probably care about this, correct me if I'm wrong, Sanctum, but it's like the Beastfall boots one shot shenanigans.
And Lokren, the new amulet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Making
Since it kills
Lokren
with
better
max
as well.
resource.
That's crazy.
I'm
Yep.
like I'm weird about not weird about Shaco, but like I'm like tempted to make all my build guides just like besides on like the focus or something, only have cooldown on Shaco. And then just be like, well, you're kind of screwed. Just get this helmet and then like masterwork it a bunch and you'll be fine. Because it's like I don't want to take it on the amulet anymore. It's like
I will say, I don't know how OP Shaco. Obviously, it's OP. It's very OP.
Oh.
But Lucian Crown is the same as it was on the PTR, and that's X125 with +7 core skills. I don't know if it's that obvious, which is better. Like, obviously, this gives you utility, more defenses, etc., etc. But 125% damage and +7 core skills. I don't know. That's a lot of damage. I don't know if you can get it up.
yeah.
It's tough.
I
I
think
like it.
I think the only
It's a decision to
time
make. You know.
I think the only time this is going to become a decision for classes that are actually bothered with cooldown reduction, because like Rogue isn't really that like hot on cooldown reduction for like half the builds. Like it's usable, but it's
Yeah,
like
I agree.
it's not like that crazy.
Yep.
I would think that like Druid, for example, with Cataclysm and stuff, would be more interested in this potentially, especially
Well, but they gotta use their helmets, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, it's gonna be a hard one. I think this like looks really crazy on paper, and then you like start like but like this build doesn't use it, and this build doesn't use it. I think it's a change in a good direction, because now it's like oh shit, like if I need a lot of CDR, then I could use it. But we'll see, I suppose. What do you think about the
Yeah.
Andaryl change then?
666 poison resistance. That's it.
Gonna be
Or
very
it's got more
tanky.
attack. It's got more attack. It's got more attack speed now. Like let's see, 30 times.
Yeah, it has way more, but overall, I think it's actually weaker because the lifesteal was insanely OP. Like
Well,
once you do a lot of damage, at least Rogue does a lot of damage. You healing your entire life pool every second with with the old one, and that's fun. But then again, maximum poison resistance is pretty strong. It's especially strong on Rogue because a lot of the things that kill you are like, for example, poison dot. You know, because Dark Shroud doesn't work against poison dots. So max poison resistance is quite good against it.
oh, I didn't even
Overall, it's
see the
still the
top.
same item, you know. Huh?
I didn't even see the implicit, dude. The 666 poison resist.
Yeah, but overall, I think it's just as good. Maybe slightly worse, but just as good, honestly.
I think one of the
Doesn't matter.
reasons
It's just taking pretty damage.
I think one of the reasons why they actually
The math
changed
on
the
the 2%
lifesteal.
was crazy.
Yeah, like the lifesteal change
Yeah.
is very likely just because they can't make it intuitive. Like, how do you explain the lifesteal system intuitively to someone that doesn't have like a degree in mathematics? Because it's not 2%.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like oh, it's a
No, the skill.
just
Like 0.001% of 6 billion damage heals you up.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's up to the like ancestral mythic unique level. To be honest, I know that the poison proc is still good, but I feel like the affixes on it are still just like not up to mythic unique level.
Maybe. It's got
I will
67.5%
say,
attack
what the
speed
hell
at
is life on
max.
hit? Come on. Why are you putting life on hit on a mythic unique? I do agree there. Like, that's kind of troll, if we're being honest.
Yeah, at least it's like a higher value than the normal fix. It's like double, almost.
Yeah, but
So that could get up to, I don't know. We have no health, so like that looks fine to me. I'm like, okay, that'll heal us. We have
Yeah.
like 16,000 health, so that looks fine.
I think another one of my problems is like, yeah, sure, like buff the attack speed, that's great, but like cap 1 is not the problem for like any build that is running Andariel anyway.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So I'm not loving this change. It's still like basically the same as it was before, except for the lifesteal change, but it's I was hoping
Didn't
like
really get buffed
yeah.
besides the poison resist.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I'll be waiting for the flat like multiplier and just see what the value is at, because we have absolutely no idea if they changed any of the flat molds.
Mm.
So we'll see there.
Turiel's Might then. What do you
Okay,
think?
it's busted. Let's go up.
Yeah, it's like what the fuck? That's so stupid.
20%
Yeah.
DR. Holy shit.
60% all resistances. Let's go. No more resistances needed.
That's
Man, if
50.
you get with GA on the VR, holy
Fif-
shit.
That's 54%. 54%, right? Holy shit.
This is like gonna be in basically every single build, right? Like for like a lot of
Yeah.
classes. Like it's
Oh
Yeah,
shit,
probably just
yeah.
not rogue, but the rest, yeah.
Yeah. Unless you are a build that has like a specific skill in that chest plate, then
Oh
yeah.
shit, yeah, you're right. You just put this.
I mean, like Bone
French
Spirit has
red.
Macabre, so you can't. We're not going to use this. I mean, I guess we could lose a little damage, but we also get the EPS on that. So I think it's going to be used in probably most builds. Excuse me, but there are some very big outliers. I mean, like with Bone Spirit, excuse me, you need your essence per second, you need your Macabre skills, so it's really going to be
Oh, the
hard to.
essence.
Right, so it's going to be
Yeah.
really hard to take those vital parts of certain niche builds. You know that there's outliers, but most of the builds will take this. There's no reason not to take this.
The variants. The variants I'm gonna have to create for this thing. Cause you put it on, then you lose your mana per second. Oh, jeez.
Right. So I mean, there are certain situations where, and you have to think too, like some of these other, and I'm going to use Spirit for example because there are other uniques, but we're already losing our essence per second on our hat and our boots because of Locrins and the new train boots or track boots. So we don't have the luxury of dropping the last EPS rolls we have just for more DR. So it's going to be a balancing act. Do we lose the boots? Do we drop Shaco? I'm like, what's it going to be that balances it out? Because this item is bonkers. I mean, this is it's neat to have an item that's released to say, we might have to rethink some things versus everything's the same, nothing like. So I mean, it's great to have those, that item there to talk about. It's going to be interesting to see how it does fit into a lot of these builds that have some very specific needs versus just this is my chest plate and I use DR. So if you look at builds like minions, well, minions were already using Tyraels or mages were already using this because chest plates had no value for a minion or mage minion build, so they slotted it in to get the additional resistances and so whatever. But it is going to be a very interesting conversation about how we do balance the need that is on very specific roles for chest plates.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to me that if you're looking at these two items, that the item on the left is already good. Like it's already a solid item in terms of EHP. Like it's obviously beaten by specific tempering items and specific niche cases where you need it, but like to change that the left item, you removed all stat and got movement speed, which is obviously like not a bad stat for basically any class because you're not sitting at 200% movement speed. Like losing 18 all stats for movement speed and then getting everything else increased as well. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, movement speed on a chest in the first place is
It's
just
crazy.
fantastic.
We're all druids now.
Man, no, y'all need some Asus boots, dude.
Oh yeah, that's true actually.
Put that shit on everything.
I haven't really looked at Selig at all, but what do you think?
Skip it.
Skip
Skip
it.
it, man.
Skip.
Skip. Grandfather.
Skip. Actually, okay. So no,
Yeah,
this
kind
one's
of
gonna
selling,
be
dude. What can I use it
Okay, just name it Grandpapa, like Barb's Grandpapa, and that's about it. So
Yep,
it got
yep,
nerfed
gonna
since the
slot in.
leak. Yeah,
Yep.
it got nerfed
Yeah.
since the leak because it was like 200% X. But max resource again, shit ton of additives, shit ton of max life, shit ton of all stats.
More additives for barbs. More.
Yeah,
Whoop, whoop.
I mean they nerfed all the modes, so they gotta give
Yeah.
us one back. So additive it is. But yeah, I mean I'm calling it. People been whining about Barb for weapons. Seems like Barbarian expertise is OP from what our dear friends at Bleeze said. I disagree with it. I'll say it that way. I don't think Barb expertise is that OP. I agree on the weapon, but that's more about build variety. But I'm sure people basically gonna be complaining about Barb next season, not because we are OP, but because we are able to wear more uniques than anyone else.
That's funny. and
Well, that does
probably
go
true.
back to the conversation they had when they started this whole season 5 chat. Was they want us to use more uniques? Well, barbs can just slot them in extra spots. It's fine.
Yeah, and
No, I think
we're gonna put even more uniques on every single of our builds just because they removed the tempers, like the good
Right.
defensive temper. So just slot
I mean,
in
I
more of
think-
the new uniques and call it a day.
Yeah. I think this could see some play for Necro. I saw it in chat, like, a bunch of people were just posting, "Oh, this is going to be great for Bone Spirit." No, it's not. It's not going to fit in Bone Spirit. It's probably not going to fit in Bone Spear. It might fit in Sever, but it's not as it is what it is. It's a barb extra slot, right? That's what that is.
What did they do to my boy?
What happened to this stuff? Why did it do like the
I don't know.
reverse
They
tutorials?
nerfed. Dude, it used to have like attack speed and some other shit. Now it's got movement speed and resist all elements.
You're a very tanky sorcerer.
I mean, the
Why'd
the
you do
For
this?
implicit's pretty
Gauntlet.
wild.
It's for Gauntlet, that's it.
You know what? You know what they need to do with this staff? They need to change it to a variant spear of like, I don't know, just a greed staff, and it's only greed shrines, and you just go around making gold using it.
It's a gold
You could
maker.
sell that. You could sell that.
Oh yeah, the farm staff. Let's go.
The farm staff, dude. You just
Yeah.
slap on your
10
farm
mil an
staff,
hour,
go do
one
some shit.
stone.
Alright, so they missed that one.
Yeah, let's just
Yeah, and give it up to 5% chance to summon a goblin on kill.
Shit, what was this, like 89.7% max life it can get now? With GA, 3 masterwork?
This is so strong.
Yeah.
I mean, you sacrifice a lot of damage, but it's so strong defensively. If we ever need to giga tank, this is insane.
This is the
Yeah, if you
slot
want to like just
special.
brain dead farm, Doombringer, baby.
I can't wait to see Slot have this and do something stupid with tanky rogue. It's gonna be the
Yeah.
way. It's the law at this
Yeah,
point.
I feel like that's the only way. The system is the only way to save like Barb, Taunt scaling, so I'm okay with the max life buff. I'll take it.
What did we have for other? Do we want to go through all of the items, like briefly, or just the ones that make
Go
sense?
fast, I guess.
Maybe the ones that make
Go
sense,
over to
because like
vaults.
Mother's Embrace doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So X-Files.
It's a great leveling tool, but
Yeah.
Butcher's
Butcher's
Cleaver.
so we
Cleaver,
did
nothing
talk.
to
So
say
we did
about
hit
it.
this one.
No.
Yeah, so we did hit on this one.
Oh.
So adding the vulnerable damage, whatever. I would have much rather seen the cooldown reduction stayed here. The all stats just getting an increase again. Why are we obsessed with all stats? It is such a low value too that doesn't make sense. Like, this is just a very poorly designed, because the biggest stat on here is your damage over time, and it does not impact the actual mechanic of X-Falls whatsoever. So I don't like this the way that they updated it. I was excited to see the changes because I was hoping we could do something again with X-Falls, but it's just so bad.
Why'd they take off the fucking cooldown for vulnerable? Like, remove
Right.
the
It
damage
makes
over time
no
for
sense.
vulnerable. And
Right.
then, I don't
You what I
know,
don't get?
Because
Why-
lucky hit chance is still low as shit.
right.
Yeah,
It doesn't make sense. There was no.
What he did. This gets
It's
fine.
okay. They
We'll
did
see.
increase the percentage chance that it can proc though in the actual unique aspect, but even then, I mean, great, we've got a little extra chance to proc shit. That's all it is, and it's no good.
The only time
Maybe
Sork
throw
ever
a
ran
crit
it was
strike chance or
for
something.
CDR. When they really
Right.
needed CDR, you put on X-Files.
So
It's
it's
stupid.
just it's very poorly designed.
I have no clue why they over budgeted like vulnerable and damage on this instead of increasing the lucky hit chance and keeping the CDR. It makes no sense in my
I
mind.
don't know, dude. I don't get
It
it.
could have been CDR, lucky hit chance, and then just like a big roll of all damage, so that it buffs your burning that you're using to proc it or whatever. Then it buffs the damage that it does, and then
Or even-
right? Because
Or even crit strike chance, just
Yeah.
something that impacts the actual aspect itself. Damage over time does not. It impacts zero, nothing for the actual. But when we get to Ebon Piercer for Necro, we'll talk about that too. It's just when you're looking at a unique thematically, do the stats on it match what the ring is, or in this case, the ring is doing? No, it does not. Lucky hit chance does, sure. Does vulnerable? Not really. I mean, yes, it can. It does
something.
increase
It's
off of
something.
that, but it's something more than damage over time, which has zero impact on that ring.
Mm. Yeah,
And then you look at like what they Blue Rose versus this. Like what the fuck?
it's not the same game. Like that's as bad as it
Blue
is.
Rose is like Blue Rose looks like an Uber unique now, and I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, I think the problem with this as well for people that have been doing a lot of lucky testing, like myself, like it's so clear to me based on looking at items like this that they don't fully understand the dynamics of lucky hit chance of what's required to make builds like that work. Like you can make some builds sort of use this and it will be relatively effective, but you're essentially like this item has one stat that is good for those builds and that's it.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's
we
crazy.
used in season 3 on a charge bolt build that was using only firebolt enchant to proc it. It was all direct damage, and then you just occasionally get an X-Val proc from it. He's using it to carry a bad skill. It's like there's no damage. I don't know.
Hey,
A lot of
it's
builds don't even.
crazy.
Yeah, like with the Necro and whatever. All right, let's move on. I'm mad.
Bush's Clears, I suppose, is weird. I need to like mention Azure Wrath for a second because what the hell did they do to this item? So like it used to be attack speed,
Cold
core
resist?
damage, non-physical damage, damage or crowd control damage. I mean, it's a bunch of additives, right? Something has to go. But
cold res on my
to go
sword.
cold
They
resistance,
nerfed the attack speed.
they nerfed attack speed.
All stats. They could have. What the? Yeah.
They
The fuck?
murdered my boy. We were talking about like.
And
you
why
know,
is there two? Look,
No one's been using that since day one. Like even
No,
Sulks
no,
don't
no, no,
want
no,
it.
no, 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 no. So here's the thing. Now when we started realizing the actual functionality of stagger, like and how that one functions with the different not multipliers but different buckets, if you want to call it like that, it actually started to have a value. So we're hoping like, hey, if they give this item a real stat line, instead of having like 64 different additives, like maybe it will be useful. Cold resistance.
maybe give it like.
Like
I don't know what they're obsessed with, like putting all these huge values of resists on items. I don't know. At least it's just from me, because anytime I see resist, it's a dead stat because
Yeah.
we run 0.
Yeah.
It's
Well, not all builds
Really
run
not dead, but
3,000
it's-
int.
I know,
so-
I know. I guess if you run it, it does solve your cold resist.
What
but
did you say,
I
Sanctum?
don't care about anybody else, man.
On Rogue, resistances are not dead, but it's close to dead. Depends which. Cold red is one of the dead ones, so yeah.
Let's grab a few of these. Razor Place, I suppose, is not interesting.
Yeah.
Program's looking
Kind
weird.
like Razorplate, I kind of like the fact that they buffed the multiplier to counterbalance the Dawn nerfs. So,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
What did they do to this boy?
They killed it.
Poor fucking Banished
Did
Lord
to my
Talisman.
boy.
Like,
It's still got.
I don't know, man. I understand like the addition of max life in a sense of like, oh, overpower damage skills with health, so like it's not dead technically, but it's like,
Those val-
man,
Wait, why did they kill it? Isn't it the same, pretty much?
Those
No.
values are shit too.
Crit chance instead of
You lost.
crit chance lost.
Yeah.
Resource gen lost. Like getting attack speed.
Go
It's
next.
bad.
Like the problem is like with builds like this, yes, you can use the attack speed if you're a build that needs to cycle
Yeah,
the
you're
BLT
right.
quickly. But for most of the builds that use BLTs, like you do one big bonk and you've stacked enough energy
Yeah,
or
yeah,
some
yeah.
shit. Like it's a weird cycle.
They could have
Well, this is what I was mentioning earlier. So this
just
is one of
buffed
those items
values.
that they tried to fix blood with. This is one of their. You can tell because, like you said, blood builds for Necro don't just get this massive overpower every time they want it. They have to cycle through it. They have to attack a few times, then overpower. And blood builds don't use that much essence either. So, let me rephrase that. They don't use a lot of essence at once. They cycle through a lot of attacks to get that overpower. So, the attack speed piece, I get. Losing the crit chance, I do not, because blood builds for Necro have such a hard time getting to crit gap. And the fact that they are so essence starved, losing the essence gen also does not make sense here. I would have loved to them get rid of the additive damage and kept the crit chance on here. Got rid of the additive damage, kept the resource gen. But additive damage, when we already have the opportunity to get close to 3,000 additive damage for blood builds, makes no sense. We're buffing a dead stat on this amulet. And I don't even know that this build or for any blood builds, I don't think this fixes anything. It makes it worse because we're losing the crit strike chance and the resource gem. So it's probably going to have to be something. Maybe all blood builds go to the Locran's amulet now. I don't know. It didn't fix anything. It hurt more than it fixed. Let's say that. And then for like you said, the big boppers though. Well, the big boppers still need to get that resource back too. So again, having that additive overpowered damage here does nothing. It absolutely does nothing. So I think again, this is one of those thematically, they missed the mark again with the changes on this item.
How
Yeah,
about
I agree on that.
yeah, I was gonna ask you, Beatrapper, in
No, keep
particular.
going.
Like, what for barbarians is this being like is it usable at all now in this like iteration?
Like the way I see it is like we've seen all the buffs to like kind of like heavy like cost or heavy budget stats such as like CDR, which is kind of like no longer an issue. We've seen all the buff to like all those additives that have been like pretty much fixed with the new uniques stats. But what about crit chance now? Barbs have ways of getting close to 100% crit chance at all time, but removing crit chance from those items that were used by most classes, I don't think that's like any good solution because they're just gonna be starved for crit chance now.
Yep.
So,
And
like they
the
had
other
it
thing
some
with
on
this,
some unique. I
go
don't
ahead.
think that makes up for it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And the other piece to this is if you look at all of the other uniques that they brought out, all of them had their unique aspect changed. This one didn't. You already got the item effectively got nerfed for its stats, and they left the unique aspect alone. It's just this is a poorly redesigned unique.
I'm inclined to agree. Penitent Greaves. One of the like interesting things about it is the double implicit, which is like kind of cool, I suppose. What about the rest of the stats though?
I mean, it still doesn't
What
work
are
on
those stats,
bosses.
dude?
It's a
Dude,
cool
this is-
leveling item.
Go back to season 1, my boy.
Chill slow potency. Chill slow
Dude, I remember
potency.
farming for pennies. I remember farming my heart out for pennies in
Yeah,
season
Brooks
1.
too. Brooks too. But
Was good
Well, I
for
was
Well, they're
playing
leveling
Rogue
great for
attack.
season 1.
leveling with Umbra.
Yeah.
this has
They're
two
really
dead
great if
stats,
you
so
pair it
come
with
on,
that.
man.
Yeah. I'm
It's just it's what is it is what it is. Just a
Yeah.
blah.
It's an interesting like adding the crit chance against chilled enemies is kind of interesting as like a new stat. I don't think we have that right until now. So like it's at least an interesting path they're trying to go, but it's the same thing as with every multiplayer like this. Like what about bosses? Like we still need to murder bosses. This ain't gonna work versus bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Well,
what
I
the fuck
mean,
is
so
chill
builds
slow
stagger a lot,
potency?
you know.
Yeah.
But what is like seriously? What is chill slow potency? Why do I want to slow more with my chill?
Chill slow it would just be they are slower. That's it, right? Like it wouldn't be anything
Yeah,
else.
Do
they're
they
slower.
stagger? Do they
I
stagger
think it just
quickly
means
with
you
it?
apply more chill, maybe.
No.
Dude, I don't know. This is dumb
No,
shit.
Or they
chill
freeze
doesn't-
quicker?
so
I don't know.
The chill percent doesn't affect stagger, so it's just bad. You know.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
What are we
Flicker
gonna
step.
do?
Flicker step. What do we think
These
about
look
the
about
setting?
these look about the same.
About the
Better,
same.
Better. About the same, but better.
They did add another implicit, which is dope. You do get the the move speed after the evade, which
Yeah, but it's the worst
is
one.
nice.
Oh,
But
no,
it's
and
the,
it went to
that's what I was saying. It's
2.5.
the worst one. Right.
Yeah, and it did go to 2.5 seconds per attack. So flicker steps, yeah, it's a buff.
Oh yeah.
It
Yeah,
is,
that's
but
pretty
it's just
cool.
like it's okay.
Good for
I don't know
builds
the
that
lightning res. All right,
yeah. Good for builds that
Again,
looks like
Lurkin, only me and you have about 3,000 int.
we other
dude,
mortals.
we
I'm
have
sorry.
we don't have 3,000. Dude, we have like 2,200 tops, like 1,600,
Oh, yeah.
2,200. But
Still, you're
anyway,
capped on resist with that, though. That's what I'm getting at. Not everybody gets
that's our
to do
board.
that.
Our board. Yeah, it's
So
free.
Yeah.
My baby soul brand.
We've seen a lot of people report that Soul Brand doesn't work, and I didn't see anything in the patch notes when I skimmed through it earlier. What do we think?
There was no changes they made to no notes about it being fixed. So it's a broken unique that is more. It's just enhancedly still broken.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and
You changed some stats, but why did we add potion capacity? Like,
I don't know.
I'm
I like the
also
lucky hit
come
chance
on.
with barrier. I kind of like that.
Yeah, same. I was gonna say the same. Like lucky hit the barrier. Like, well, they have a barrier. It's actually like a decent niche with this as well.
Okay.
But now it just.
I mean, it's cool, but we. I don't like this. If they fix it, here's the answer.
It's
If
a
they
leveling.
fix it,
It's a mid game leveling item. That's what it is.
yeah, because if they do fix it, it's still worse than Tyrael's. So if you're going to be using a unique chest plate, it's Tyrael's. This is just 20 something for Veiled Crystal right here.
Yeah, the only build that Stark will use it, we'll probably still use it on. I think it was, I don't know. Is incinerate, because you need to be able to sit still and cast your potion so that you can just keep sitting still.
It's good to get
And the other thing with this too is if you do get in the higher end content, when you do get taken down to 0 HP or you're CC'd, what is spamming potions going to do for you here? I don't like this item, and I don't like it doesn't work. So
Fists of Fate.
Face of
maybe.
Fate though.
I like I like and don't like what they did with the ranges. I think it's on brand though.
I do think
the
that
ranges is what kills this. You have to
GA or
get 4
bust.
GA to make. Yeah, you have to get a
No,
4
no,
GA
no.
item, and then pray to God you get a good damage roll, or you don't use these items. This item. That's it.
disagree.
That's it.
I disagree 100%. I think
So you're gonna run
one-
just for the lucky hit chance because you're a rogue to use Andy's. Okay, so Andy's rogue can use this because of the lucky hit chance. Every other build in this entire game has to get a 4 GA. If they want to use this item, has to get a 4 GA and pray to God that you get a good damage roll, unless you're Andy's rogue. I got it. I'm with you on that one. So one build in the entire game. So this is now a unique for one build in the game.
Wait, but it's
100
not just
billion
one build.
million.
It's like the strongest build in the game, so you know. Good respect.
No,
Dude, people are
Okay.
gonna sell their fucking BMWs for this thing.
I do
Yeah.
think,
Like,
in all honesty though, like if you could technically have 1 GA and then a high effect, on it, and it would be good. Like if for lucky hit builds, even if it has only the lucky hit part, that's the thing that you need high off to make a lot of like these niche builds work. So as long as you have a high lucky hit chance and then a high percentage, then it's probably gonna be useful for some builds. But it's
Yeah, and then you get 0.1% attack
Then
speed.
you get a
wanna jump off a
0.1.
bridge.
Yeah, and a 0.1% crit strike chance. Sure.
get
who
the
needs
GA.
We gotta
criticize anyway?
Well, yeah.
We gotta have a thread of like the fist, like failed Fists of Fate drops.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
0.1.
yeah, it's gonna be ingenious findings.
Yeah.
Fucking
I mean, it's gonna
tragic.
be
Yeah.
amazing for testing ATS breakpoints, though. Like the
True.
range, mate.
That's true.
Frost-
Just get all
Frost
30
burns.
something.
I don't know with Frostburns. They're less shit. They're still kind of bad, but like they're fine. They're mid. The definition of mid.
They're absolutely 100%.
It's an interesting change, I suppose. But it's.
I think they're kind of just niche. If you're,
Mhm.
they're they're another leveling item. If you get them when you're leveling, slap them on.
I do like that it has.
In the
Make it
6
soft.
hours that you're
Just
leveling,
make it Sorc. Just make it Sorc restricted. Like I don't think any other class.
it really
has
should
any
just
use
be a
for it.
Sorc item.
Mm.
It would clear up your drop tables too. That would be good.
What you know?
We'll
what
take
I,
it. We'll take this
That's
one.
true.
You know what I thought when I saw this item first? Like rogues had this very specific elemental surge build that was like almost a thing if they wouldn't have fixed the elemental surge. I was thinking like, huh, maybe you can make some really weird like lucky hit oriented super stagger build with frostburn. But yeah, no, it's probably not going to be the case. But an interesting part is the
Damage is too
implicit
low.
lucky hit though.
Yeah.
Implicit lucky hit is kind of interesting that they are playing
Yeah.
around with that on normal items as well. Not.
Yeah,
They're
Oh,
giving that
that's
to
that's fair.
X-Files, but no.
The fact that
Yeah,
this is
right.
better lucky hit item than X-Falls is hilarious to me.
Yeah, it is.
Pain
Agreed.
Gorger. Loss of crit
I
chance is
don't
actually
Big
like they
buff.
got rid of.
It's
CDR.
bad.
It's
That's
a
bad.
It sucks. It lost crit though.
yeah.
crit strike
No,
chance
because
losing it is massive.
it makes sense because Pain Gorger never scaled of crit the Pain Gorger part. So
It does. It
we're
does.
gonna have
The
to.
pain gorge part. That,
I don't think I'm using this thing on anything anymore. I'm gonna be honest.
Where does it have lucky hit
yeah,
chances
I don't
stuff?
see this
What
being
is
used
that?
much.
Mm.
Like in my case,
Wow.
I feel like it's a good change. It's a good change. The lucky hit chance to stun, I have kind of like no idea why. Like
I do.
okay, aspect of retribution works on the echo damage, so that part's alright. But beside that, I see it as an absolute win because the basic damage part did not even work on the echo damage. So basic skill, I'll take it over that. At least it works.
So for me, the one
No,
thing that is scary for me
the
with this
basic
item.
damage work.
No, it didn't. I don't think so. Like, so the problem with Pain
Really? Then
Gorger.
why did we all take Why'd we all take topaz in our weapons?
I mean, I could go through my findings later and check, this
Yeah.
things. But the interesting part about this, and the scary part about this as well, is that if they are conceding that crit chance or crit damage should or shouldn't work with this item, it's kind of scary to me because it means that other builds and other interactions share the same echo functionality as Pain Gorger, which means that that is how they want it to scale. And I'm looking at things like Victimize, and I'm like, uh-oh, this is no bueno. Like, this is gonna hurt a lot of builds if they keep the same sort of back-end code. Because basically, the things that works for Pain Gorger is working... the things that doesn't work for Pain Gorger doesn't work for things like companions to a certain extent, but like damage echoes and all that sort of stuff. So I'm like a little bit worried that if they're like, okay, well, Pain Gorge is not supposed to work with crit, is that the same for the rest of the abilities as well, or like the same for the other similar functionalities as well?
And I don't. I'll be fine with Pain Gorger build being no crit builds, and possibly even like in that case being like elemental surge builds as well, since that. Oh no, actually, no, that thing cannot crit. So I don't know. Like I'll be fine with it, and I still see the change to Pain Gorger as a win, because I'll take the basic skill bonuses over the 8% crit chance.
Makes a lot of sense for those builds at least. Godslayer, did we have anything interesting here? Weird attitude
Nobody's going to
change.
use this for anything. Nobody's
Yeah, it
going to
looks
use
fine. Nothing's. Oh wait, are they still has cooldown? I don't know. It's fine,
this.
man.
It still has cooldown, and it's still the same percent. Nobody's using this. When
You
you
use
have
it
the new
until you get
Shaco and you
Shaco.
have...
You use it until you get Shaco if you don't have a helmet. That's what happens.
The
I don't even know if
strongest
you do it
rogue
then.
build for pits this season uses Godslayer. But
Yeah, we also
it's
used
just
Godslayer for grouping.
Issues. Yeah. No, it's bad. Honestly, like
It's
helmets are so stacked that
yeah.
Stuff.
Tough crowd.
Temerity.
Temerity. I've never
So
been
it's-
able to get into this item. Some people really love it. I don't get it.
Same. I do like changing the to percent max life. I think that's pretty cool. I like they got rid of the potion drop rate, but then we put it on Soul Brand. But whatever. The DRY healthy, I don't like. That's such a small window of which you have that damage reduction. I don't like that.
Well, but you have the barrier though to protect
Yeah,
it.
because you have temerity, like
That's,
giving you
that's
barrier.
true.
Yeah, you're like
That's
always
true.
full.
I just don't like this. I just don't like this item. I don't.
They increased the
And
100%.
I feel like
this
they
goes
waste.
back to, and the HP heal thing. This goes back to what we discussed in PTR about in season 4 about how we're all at 40, 50,000 life except for the 2K life Sorks, but 5% chance to heal 1,000 HP. Why is this a stat? Why is this a stat?
And I feel like it's a nicher version of Soul Brand, which is already fairly niche. And
I
they
think
spent, to be honest, like they tried to fix temerity every single season patch since like season 1, and I felt like they should just like let it die at that point. They spent enough time on that item.
I agree. That's a good way of putting it. I think that's a great way
All
of putting it.
all those flat values for healing are so weird because of the range of the health of all the classes. I don't know why it's just like
Mhm.
lucky hit chance to heal to 5% life. You know what I mean? Some value.
That would make more sense. But when we're at 50k life and 5% chance to heal 1,000,
Oh,
okay,
actually,
Yeah.
someone in the chat said life on a hit will be great on that item. I'll be fine with it.
Life on hit would be actually. Yeah, we were using life on hit in season 4 substantially in several builds. So I think, that's a great point. Chance to heal a percent chance to heal 1k is nothing, especially considering when you're hitting 3 or 4 times a second, getting 200-300 heals off of that a second. I mean, that's pretty massive.
All right. Let's go through barbarian ones first. Are there any specific ones, Pete, that you want to talk about?
Oh shit! I need to go through all of them. I'm sorry about that.
All right. I'm just opening all.
There shouldn't be too many.
Whoops. It shouldn't be too many, he says. Jesus Christ, how many items do you have? All right, battle trance. Let's go. Speedrun.
Basically, duelist kill good. Item is kind of good, mostly because of the 30% multiplier damage, which kind of makes up for losing an amulet aspect slot. Beside that, that's pretty much about it. Still gonna be niche. Maybe Frenzy Raphael build. We'll see. Shit, we can pass. Rage of Aragast. Chances most notable is critical strike chance is no longer conditional, which means it counts towards gushing wounds. Good chance plus. Gore finally giving us a decent stat that actually scale with Whirlwind, since we're getting attack speed scaling on Whirlwind. Kind of funny actually to get back attack speed on this item since they removed it in season 4. But beside that, good changes overall. Still gonna be probably not gonna be used that much because Whirlwind damage comes from Dust Devils, not Whirlwind itself.
I must say that's a crazy stat line for a pair of gloves. 15% attack speed, 12.5 movement speed, 22.5% crit chance,
2.5% crit chance.
rank
Yeah.
score. That's crazy. All right, Twin Strikes.
Was dead on arrival in season 4. Kinda got buffed because they finally realized that crit chance is a requirement on all gloves. Is it still gonna be good? Still gonna be shit, sorry. Most likely, yes, because I doubt they fixed the fact that the double swing additional 2 hits do not proc Dust Devils. So, mid, maybe, pass. They did my boy dirty. So fucking dirty. Okay, so aggressive resistance was a barbarian passive that gave you 4% DR per rank. This rank would go up to 8, so 32% DR. That thing is gone. The good thing about Tusk Helm is that we no longer need it. Basically, saves you 1 or 2 tempers of damage while berserking. Beside that, the item is no longer a competitor for Shaco on Max Fury builds because they also removed the Max Fury. So, dead. Ariad's Bearing is kind of interesting there. We can we're probably going to be able to see finally Leapquake or Kota builds in Season 5. Big Kota CDR on top of Shaco, so easy to get the 75% cap on CDR. The ultimate damage is kind of good. Still no words about minion ancients categorized as minions, so we don't know about that. But and all resistances still good, gonna save us an affix slot somewhere. So I'll take it. Well, Ring of Red Furor
That's a lot of
kind of
good
goes with the logic. Yeah, kind of goes with the logic about removing like unneeded stat in favor of some gameplay. Basically, RROF giving you crit chance, guaranteed crit chance. There's no need to add crit chance. So crit strike damage makes sense. Attack speed as well. Max resource, same. They then changed strength to give us fire resistances. I have no idea why. I'll just take the 10% bonus crit strike damage and the flat additive. That's about it. This is one of the biggest win of the season. Ren's duration has been doubled. We've seen how much Flay duration temper was busted. Imagine the same thing for Rend now. And as well, instead of allowing your brawling skills to apply Rend every 4 seconds, it's every 1 second now. On top of giving you more Rend skills and more brawling skills. So, Leapquake, Rend, build, let's go.
Ramalandis.
Ramaladni, I love you, but I'm not sure I'm gonna use you next season. I'm sorry. Okay, so I've been using Ramaladni since the first weekend of season 0. Literally the first unique I dropped on like the first Saturday of Diablo release. The strength is good, the max resource is good. It's one of the highest max resource you can get on an item, unless Shaco Grandfather. Crit strike damage, why not? Overpowered damage, I have no fucking clue because there's no one-hander build that uses overpower. And then they buffed the multiplier to 0.5, which is great, but now it's gonna cost you 10 fury per second. So since they removed all of those resource generation affixes on uniques, and since resource cost reduction does not work on resource drain, it might be tough to use. Ancient Oath, the additive and stats on this thing are absolutely bonkers. Like 270% additive on close, 16% cooldown reduction on the two-hander weapon, on top of Steel Grasp, on top of the 0 DPS Barb that are gonna use the new Iron Maelstrom amulet that makes Iron Maelstrom basically hitting your entire screen. Dealing less damage, sure. Basically, 0 DPS item, good. Use it. One of the other big win of the season, they buffed Upheaval base damage. Upheaval is the hardest scaling ability beside Death Blow for Barbarians, so shit ton of ranks, sorry. And one of the only item that gives you +4 to Wallop, which is one of the biggest multiplier passive of Barbs. Kinda offsets the nerf by itself, and they remove the shit stat. Giga win for Upheaval. I love it. Oh yeah, I forgot about this burning damage scaling out of strength at on the Hellhammer, but whatever. Overkill changes, good changes. Kinda concerned about the vulnerable damage. Most of the people are gonna be like, yeah, but Death Blow allows you to proc expose vulnerability. Yes, but I hope they also fixed the fact that the Decimator legendary node for Barbarian that gives you bonus damage when you proc vulnerable did not work with exposed vulnerability. So stats good, damage good, big win. We keep it. What's next? We good?
Next is the final item, Fields
Oh
of
shit!
Crimson.
Field of. Okay, so for those of you old boys in the background that remember the OG days of Field of Crimson for Barbarian, one-shotting leading for Basilians dot damage due to Berserk Whipping, and then due to the stun proccing bleed as well. Don't remember the name of the aspect, but whatever. Basically, the changes are great. The additive parts are absolutely massive, like 550% non-GA, non-masterwork on a single two-hander item is absolutely massive. Enhanced rupture explosion size, I'm kind of concerned about. I get that rupture is like a mobbing tool more than a boss killing tool, besides the buffing to rend that we mentioned earlier. The rupture cooldown reduction, sure, why not? Also works with Shard of Raphael, Third Lens, sorry. So kinda okay with it. Is it gonna be better than Grandfather? I doubt it. Still, basically good item for ruptural builds prior to getting Grandfather. And that's it.
It is a little bit interesting because the enhanced rupture lucky hit is still bugged from based on what I was testing on
Yeah.
PTR as well. So like the explosion would be like really nice if we could make some random lucky hit build work with it as well. But
Yep.
it doesn't look like we're gonna get there anytime soon with this item, unfortunately.
Yeah, but the blood pool still has like decent lucky hit chance.
That's true.
Just not the enhanced rupture.
Let's blitz through Druid real quick because some of the items are it just makes sense, like the changes in general, and then some items are very, very weird.
This one sucks. It's pretty cool, but it
Yeah,
sucks.
it's cool, but yeah. Flesh render is like weird because I would like to see it scale the unique interactions with the skill tags that it has, that it copies the skill tags of the spell that it uses. Right now, it doesn't feel like we're gonna get there anytime soon, so unfortunately, it's
Yeah, I
not
know.
great. So here is one thing that is like pretty interesting with Great Theft of the Crown. So if the Stormstrike chains to 2 additional targets means that when you press Stormstrike, you cast 3 Stormstrikes, that's crazy. But if it just bounces to 2 more targets, it's like,
Yeah, it
it's
bounces.
kind of whatever.
Like I was thinking, if Druid had a way, like the rogue totem, where you can like create a target to chain, then maybe with overcharged, you could probably overcharge a lot of times, but on bosses, that's just a useless affix.
Yeah.
And it just sucks, honestly.
And another part is the same problem
know.
as many other interactions for Druid, which is basically the Stormstrike that you get from this doesn't have the correct skill tags, so it just does trash damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully fixed sometime soon, but not the case right now. Movement speed while Hurricane is active is pretty interesting, but overall it's not bad. The bug fix to Dolmen as well is wanted, so now you can actually have the second boulder do damage.
That's actually a pretty insane buff, honestly, because it was 10% before per boulder. Now it's 30%. The rep skill is higher than crushing. I don't know. Boulder might be strong. Wait, so I calculated yesterday or a couple days ago that Boulder could get up to rank skill 48. Now it's higher because it's plus 4 rap skills. It's what, like 50 now?
That's crazy.
So it's kind of silly. Boulder might do a lot of damage. I have to like do some math, but could be pretty insane.
It's
It's still clunky as hell, but
yeah, it's very clunky, but I'm at least glad that they have identified the problem that they had with the tempering, so that you can actually use this now. Because like, it was getting pretty depressing to not be able to play this at all. Now,
yeah,
one thing I was hoping for Wild Heart would have been that they cut the stacks in half
insane.
but increased the damage. Because like one of the annoying part with Wild Heart is like you need to stack it a lot, which obviously if you're doing pushing pit, for example, like you do stack them naturally, and you don't really lose too much from needing to sort of swipe in the air to keep the stacks. But can you imagine like when you're speed farming, you're trying to maintain the stacks, you're like, okay, wait, I need to stop every like so often just to hit air while running. Like it actually slows down the run quite a bit overall.
Yeah, I mean, Druid has a lot of these mechanics now, like quick shift, heightened senses, wild heart, which could maybe they could all probably get like a duration increase, so it doesn't feel like, okay, well, I gotta keep it up, gotta keep it up. You know, it's like kind of annoying. You know, it's like the ADHD class.
Shape-shifting attack speed is an interesting thing to see how many things are actually going to work with that tag, because I can imagine shape-shifting attack speed not working with many things that it should be working with. So we'll have to see how that works, but overall it's okay. A little bit
Yeah,
about the
it's a good
cold
item.
resistance though.
Yeah, that one's whatever. That one sucks. But the rest of the item is pretty insane, honestly.
Madol's Glee, the skill rank's been going up to 5 is pretty good now. Shifting movement speed to
Yeah.
just the Digitrade gate, or however that is pronounced. It's, you know, flavor, I suppose, more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting one is the looping ferocity. I mean, that key passive is not good enough right now,
Yeah.
I think. But if it ever became good, that's pretty interesting affix there. With the GA, with masterworking, you know, it's interesting.
It's not bad.
I like it. I like the change, honestly.
It's, I mean, overall,
Iron Fur is pretty good.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
it,
we're
it's
overpower
good.
damage.
It's good.
It's like it's a high percentage,
that's
which is
whatever.
kind of whatever, but like the rest of it is really good. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's a good one.
This one I like and dislike at the same time.
Wait, why do you dislike it?
I don't like that they're trading the lucky hit for this for distant damage, like personally.
Oh, okay.
Because like I feel like
So-
builds that normally play this are generally decently dependent on lucky hits, but now you're kind of pigeonholed into being at least semi-distant or distant to benefit from the passive, which makes it like awkwardly conditional.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I feel like they wanted this item to be more like pure lightning storm build,
hmm.
and it is a lot stronger for that.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
used to be before, you know, you used it mainly as utility. Now it's just like, I mean, lightning storm kind of might slap with this item. It might hit pretty hard.
Yeah. I think for like
But,
a
yeah.
distance specific build, obviously this is better in terms of raw damage. It is going to be better. There are some, because the lucky hit could roll abnormally high on this item, which is such a good source of lucky hit, might not be detrimental at all to any builds that were running it before. I would have liked it to be less conditional to distant as a damage gain, just to be able to be more to like a hybrid playstyle of being close or distant. But like, there are benefits to it.
Even the yeah, I mean, even if let's say you always play close, like most builds do, it's still bug thunderstruck. So you know, it's not the end of the world at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it's the main part for me is the lucky hit part for specific builds. But yeah, it's not bad, but it's they could have also just left it alone, sort of. But the increased damage
probably.
on it though is good. Like the extra lightning strike,
Yeah, and
doubling
you
up.
can get like, what is it? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 ranks of lightning storm. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like the passive being 40% instead of 20 is pretty good as well.
Yeah.
Tempest Roar. Lost some crit damage. Changed the resistance randomly, got wild impulses. Also the increase for.
I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting a much bigger buff. I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
it's kind of meh. I mean, yeah, it's obviously good because of the tag, but
Yeah.
the rest is meh. Yeah.
I do find it a little bit weird. I mean, in terms of flavor, going from poison resistance to lightning resistant makes sense because this is a storm head, you know, in that sense. But like, was a little bit weird to go that direction. But for builds that needs it, it's still, you know, mandatory. The builds that don't need it, then it's kind of whatever, I guess.
This was quite a bit better, but
Yeah.
obviously still you just take it for the tag, but
Yeah.
it is better.
It's mostly like one of those items that is like it's just functionality for the most part. It's better passive, like better stats on it for the most part, I guess, but a better defensive item anyway. Storm's
Defensive
Companion.
kosher is not that bad also now, because it gives you DR, well fortified now, so it's
not bad.
It's an item facilities now.
Storm's Companion is a weird one.
Yeah.
Because
it's interesting.
The weird part for me is that they still don't show. I don't know if the additive is still here. Like there's a hidden additive on Storm's Companion. I think it's 50% if I recall correctly. I don't remember like exact numbers from my testing, but there was a hidden additive on the old pants that don't show up, and I'm not sure if they're there now when it's been updated because it was hidden. So it might be like an unironic, like slight nerf in some regards. Another thing that is really weird with Wolf's attack speed is that Wolf's attack speed is cap 1 instead of cap 2, which is also like kind of whatever. You don't have a hard time capping cap 1 as a druid, I feel like, for the most part. Lucky hit chance for the pack leader is. What do you think about that one, Sanctum? Because for me, it feels like really weird in one way because the companions themselves can't proc it, but it has really good like passive still, or whatever you want to call it, like an affix.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's weird. So ideally, I feel like you should have like a self-sustaining companion build, right? Where the companion skills auto-generate the pack leader procs and keep you going, and that feels like how it should be. It's not, but obviously it's strong, you know. But proccing pack leader on a companion build, that's DPS. So it's good, but
yeah, it's one of those affixes where it's like, oh yeah, I mean it's really good. It just feels you want it with that build. It's just a weird item to have it on because the item, like the wolves, cannot proc it itself. You know, like that's the only reason why it feels weird. Hunter Zenith. That's a hell of a lot of passives. What do we think about getting Predatory Instinct instead of normal crit chance?
Which one was that? Predatory was
Close
the crit chance,
right? It's basically the same item to a lot of large extent.
It's slightly better, I guess. Yeah, it's slightly better. It's just I don't know if it's a buff. I mean, it's actually a nerf because they lowered the quick shift value, so a nerf.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I do like that they remove damage while shapeshifting as an additive because that is literally pointless and added willpower instead. But it feels like I don't know. It's like maybe a minor nerf depending on.
Yeah, it's probably minor nerf, but if you take it for the tag anyways. Like obviously the stats were good because of all the passives, but it's whatever. It's a minor nerf, minor buff. It's about the same. It's neutral.
A random thought is that how does it work with masterworking? Because obviously skill ranks and passive ranks don't scale up the same way as just, you know, passive stats would. So there might be like one of those weird things, like if you would have hit masterworking on old crit chance, it might have been more crit chance than getting ranks of predatory instincts because of the how few ranks you get from masterworking passives comparatively on uniques.
No, it's more creatures now because I mean, unless you low roll, like already, let's say rank 3 is already like would be baseline 4, which is 12%. So yeah, it's probably more in every case. Yeah, it has to be more.
Yeah, that
I
makes
feel.
sense. I mean, a lot of like random
It's
additives,
whatever.
but like it's kind of like it's better than it was, I suppose. But sort of inconsequential, like
Yeah,
like that's about it.
yeah, it's better, but no one, it's the same shit. No, you didn't take it for like close damage.
Earthbreaker is very exciting though in terms of like how they decided to change it. So Earth attack speed
Yeah,
is
it's
good.
insane.
Like extra chance to cast twice for landslide is just good, and then extra ranks to landslide. Like this is just a great
You know what I don't
change.
get?
Mhm.
Some items, like you see, it's like, oh, they put in the perfect stats for the build. Crazy. And other items, like, how do you even think about putting that stat? It's like you pick the exact wrong stat to put on the item. And then you see this, it's like every single, okay, what did you want? Ranks of landslide? I'm in. 2x procs? I'm in. Attack speed? I'm in. Crit chance? I mean, it's like every single stat is the perfect one. So I don't know. I don't get it.
I mean, we're gonna see some of the other stats as well soon, but like this is, I mean, items for other classes, but this is, I mean, landslide druid is eating good with this. That's for sure, at least. What do we want to do
It's
next?
like Lurking said about the.
That looks just as
Can
good
we
as
just
Blue
roll
Rose.
this? I gotta leave soon.
What is he lurking? Sorry.
Looks just as good as Blue Rose. About yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I was about to compare to Blue Rose because that one has perfect stats. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Necromancer. Do we have any specific unique that we want to look at?
I think he wanted to do Rogue because he's got a Skadoodle.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, I can wait, but if we get the rogue, better.
we can speedrun rogue, I suppose, like
Built.
first.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, we can open them, but like some of them are gonna be like super quick skips.
I'll be quick. I'll be quick.
A lot of them are gonna be quick skips. Ashera's weapon mastery on this shit makes no sense.
It's not a. It's yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but it's not bad. It's probably worth it for some build, like flurry maybe, but it's eh.
So like the problem with Ashera's is like you would want to use this in a lucky hit focus build, and the only lucky hit focus builds you would run is basically poison imbuement builds or like victimized builds.
And they don't work weapon master.
Yeah. So it's like it's a really weird anti-synergy, but it's not.
Yeah, I would just take it for the weapon mastery and the attack speed. That's it.
Yeah. Condemnation is pretty good.
Condemn is. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I like
Like,
the
it's
lucky
just
hit vulnerable on it, to be honest. And the increased chance to get 3 combos is pretty decent.
Yeah, it's an interesting item. It kind of has some anti-synergy with precision because if you're not exactly melee, like when you shoot, so you need to cast 2 times to like to stack precision and get the bonus. But if you shoot it from a range, you gotta wait until the hit lands. So condemn kind of tells you, oh, you shouldn't wait, like you shouldn't do the typical 3-to-1 combo, but you kind of need to unless you're melee, so it's kind of awkward. But it's still a good item.
Sky
It's
Hunter.
interesting. Sky Hunter. It's strong. It's really strong because I mean, you match your marksman projectiles with GA masterworking, and then you get like GA 2 masterworkings and crit damage. You get like 800% crit damage from one item. For RF, it's going to be extremely strong, like insanely strong. For pen shot, probably also worth it. For barrage, I don't think so. I think branching volleys on your two-hander is too strong on barrage. But for RF, it's a massive buff, I think.
I do like that they added marksman projectiles to not make this a skill specific one, but like just any range skill kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that was like really good foresight from them in general.
Yeah, although it's kind of stupid that it outshines all the other specific skill weapons, you know.
That's true.
Kind of silly there, but yeah.
Wind Force, we were
It
talking
sucks.
about it
It
before.
seems strong. People think it's strong. It seems strong. but it's bad. It just has to overcome too much stuff. Maybe in the future in season 8 when we have inner sight being good, maybe a close quarter combat plus inner sight barrage build will be good. But until then, it sucks.
Unlucky. Eaglehorn.
This they fixed Victimize, which is kind of really bugged and probably not gonna be fixed. This is insane. If they don't fix it, it sucks. Yeah, basically.
Unlucky. What of a con? It's has the right
It's a really good item.
stats.
It's an insane item, actually. It's an insane. The skill just sucks, but it's an insane item. If they ever fix the skill, watch out, because this item is insane.
Beastfall boots. I mean, it does what Beastfall boots is supposed to be
It's mostly
doing,
the same.
but like,
Yeah, I think it's a slight nerf, but it's mostly the same. Oh, I mean, I guess if there's ever an actual beatable build, it's a slight buff, but yeah.
yeah. Scoundrel is the biggest flop of this patch, I think, for Rogue. Like, what did
Man,
they
I was
do?
so excited for this one.
They had such
Yeah,
interesting
when
potential
I
for this,
envisioned the
but
item, I thought it would do like plus subterfuge with like I don't know, DR trap. Well, I guess the DR trap is there.
Movement speed
and-
while inner sight gauge is full. What the fuck?
it's so
This is
bad.
the dumbest shit I've
Just
ever
skip
seen,
it.
bro. Skip
Yeah,
fucking
just skip
move.
it. Rogue doesn't even have problems capping attack movement speed. It's so easy. So yeah.
yeah, I mean, why would you
Bad idea.
run while your inner sight gauge is full? Like, it's the time you stand still and hit bonk.
No, yeah, you want to do damage.
Yeah, it makes
Crazy.
no sense. Anti-synergy.
Maybe. Oh, so you know you get from enemy to enemy faster. It's
Oh
like,
shit.
dude.
We didn't have
Relax.
Shadow Step or Dash or Advanced Flurry or anything that just makes us go. Brr.
This one, I don't. Is it fixed? Probably not. Skip.
Like one of the things that like almost frustrated me when I saw this, like I understand that the lucky hit chance helps proc the clone, but clone itself has no lucky hit interaction. So it feels like great that you're proccing it more frequently, but like it also yeah, it's not gonna happen. This is like
Look, if
crowd
they have
confiltration
the
does not.
filtration,
Yeah.
it doesn't even work. But
You know what this item feels like? You know, like those triple imbuement helmets that we got in like season 0 to 2 or whatever for Rogue is like shadow imbuement, cold imbuement, and poison imbuement ranks on the same thing.
yeah.
This is it.
You know, this also feels. Yeah. It feels like that. Yeah, you're right. The actual no, I guess the trick attacks is anti-synergy with bloody hit chance builds, so that was bad. Rapid gambits should talent. And stable elixirs is quite good for these builds, but
Wait, what the?
this also feels like those amulets you get with like shitty ass passive. You're like, oh shit, triple passive amulet, and it just sucks ass. It's kind of like that.
Wait, this helmet is literally just an aspect of fortune temper for 25% lucky hit chance when you have a barrier or
Yeah,
whatever the hell it is. But it's only
yeah,
against crowd controlled enemies. Bro, what?
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Like imagine if
Straight to
this
jail.
like if this had another condition, like this would be kind of decent for some builds. Like you can actually play around it, but
It's
like
just like some,
vulnerable. Oh, now it's interesting. You know?
yeah.
Like instead of
that
crowd
looks
control.
terrible.
Now it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
stagger
it's-
bosses faster. You know, like it doesn't do anything.
They were cooking some hot dogs and milk on that one. I don't know, man.
Yeah, they sure were. Eyes in the Dark. At some point they will get this right,
Yeah, at some point it'll be good. Maybe season 9, 10. We'll see.
but not today.
Uh,
I don't know what did they do to our boy though. Like it had such good stats, and they would just decided like, let's just add all the stats to it.
What's with all
Yeah,
this? Dude,
skip
can
it.
they just like relax with the crowd control damage? Holy shit.
No, we have one passive that
Well,
makes
we
use of
actually
it,
skill with it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you do. I forgot about that.
which sucks now, but you know it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know.
Scoundrel's
This is
Kiss is
insane.
like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy.
This was already like an insane unique, you know? I was like, hey, let's buff the aspect, let's buff the let's give it 2x. what? The critical chance is kind of a meme, right? Because when you use it with precision, it's already capped crit chance wise.
Mm.
But otherwise, these stats are insane. Like, why did you buff it? It was already really good. It was gonna go on every single rapid fire build. No one's gonna complain about it. But hey,
Like,
look, they buffed it.
if
Fine.
this item would have just changed to add like these, affixes, I would have been like, okay, this is still crazy. But why the fuck did it also increase the passive? Like, why did it go from 25 to 35? Like, this is crazy.
Worse. It was worse. Okay, let's say last season RF happened to be a bad. Okay, sure. But no, it's like the third best build. Third, yeah, around there. It's a really good build. Now it's even more insane. Okay, thanks. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
Saboteur
sucks.
Signet is just no. The fact that
It's
they're
just
this
so bad.
stingy to make like stun grenades have 5% base, like come on, man. This could have been like 50% and it still wouldn't have a fucking impact at all.
Yeah, I mean, overall, most of the unique changes for Rogue suck. But Rogue is in a good spot, it's true. So
That's true. Alright, Necromancer this time.
anyways, guys, I gotta go. So
Alright, man.
it's been fun.
Thanks for joining us.
I'll be right back.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Not a lot of good. Not a lot of good. Black River got slight buffs. I mean, the damage multiplier was increased by a little bit. But when you're multiplying crap, you're still getting crap. Didn't really change anything else to it. The attack speed is the implicit is actually the biggest change of all in this item, because that's actually pretty massive for it, being able to spam more corpse explosions. But even then, I mean, when you're looking at it from a standpoint of what we were able to do in season 4 with this, where maxing out at 150 million dot ticks with wither procking and blighted aspect procking, that little bit of multiplier increase on this item does not make up for either one of those nerfs. So, this item is still just bland. It had its season or two that it was great, and it's just not right now, especially with the wither and blighted. It's just not going to do much. Lidless Wall, I don't understand these changes at all.
Let me open
I don't understand why they're throwing armor on everything now. I like the Bone Storm duration. That's fine, except for the fact that you could have Bone Storm up to 100% without Bone Storm duration. So it is what it is there. The cooldown reduction, again, I don't understand this because the next line is Bone Skills. Like, what build are you going to use this for where you need cooldown reduction? I don't know. I don't understand this item now. It hasn't been good for a couple of seasons, and now it's just bad. Like, I don't see a place for this item at all. I just don't understand the changes they made to it. The only thing that I could see here is if you're going to go back to the Bone Spear that was using this for a while, but even then, it's just this ain't it, because we also lost the max essence on it, which is one of the big reasons why you use this item was the max essence. So I don't know. I don't see a place for this. Bloodless Scream has been so bad for so long. They made some great strides with this to make it seem like we could fit it in somewhere. You could have some fun with this on Sever. I think you could have some fun with this on Sever. It fits everything that you'd want for Sever, including the additional darkness skills. So this one will be fun to play around because Sever itself is actually going to be one of the better builds. Currently in Season 4, it's one of the better builds, and it's currently using a two-handed scythe anyway. So this is interesting. It'll be something to play around with. It's one of the few Necromancer uniques that the changes made sense, and it thematically fits what the item itself is. So that's not bad. Deathspeaker's Pendant. I like some of the changes, especially with the change to the way that enemies are drained from blood. So I think this one actually could be pretty interesting for a Bloodsurge minion. But I don't know. I don't see that this makes much play, because even then, regular minions are out going to shine this a blood minion build. So I don't see that having too much of an impact. It will help with the essence portion for if you're using this for non-minions. And having the colorless blood's also cool, but I don't see this playing out even over Alocrins. Ebon Piercer. This one to me is probably the strangest change of any of the Necro items that I've seen. What this means to me is that fundamentally they don't understand what this item is. Nor what makes this item actually work. So the Ebon Piercer bolts don't have anything to do with Blight. Blight itself is just the mechanism of which this amulet works. Blight ranks do not increase the damage. Double cast projectiles do not work for the projectiles from the amulet. It only casts another Blight. So if you're making an Ebon Piercer build, 95% of the damage actually comes from the amulet, and at max, 5% comes from Blight. So we're losing our essence cost reduction in place of Blight or projectiles without any positive impact. So we're losing our one of the main features that allowed us to spam this this item, replacing it with Blight that does nothing. Then we lost straight movement speed for Reaper's Pursuit. Don't understand why that was made. Just leave the movement speed. Because as soon as the shadow damage falls off, you're no longer moving, and completely makes no sense that they've removed that. Adding Gloom's fine. I think that's a cool change. They could have, honestly, they could have removed the damage over time additive value, because that does nothing in the greater scheme of things, and we have 2,000 to 3,000 additive anyway. So this item went from a functioning item the way it was to none of the stats on it make sense anymore other than Gloom. So this just makes no sense to me. It completely killed this amulet. They clearly don't understand how the mechanism worked, nor what scaled it. So I don't at all understand that change. Greaves of the Empty Tomb, however, this one's massive. These are primarily only used in server build anyway. There was a time of which this item did get some play for some other builds because of the lucky hit chance that was on it, which not a big deal. We're not looking for that lucky hit chance anymore, especially considering that Sever got its own boost to lucky hit chance. But this is huge. Getting the increased Sever size is massive. Getting the Sever projectiles to be able to cast it, if you GA this and Masterwork it, you're almost to 90% anyway. So this is great. You don't have to worry about, even if you could, then you could just put one temper on and not have to worry about, do you GA that? Do you Masterwork that? So that's a cool change. The damage over time is already there, which is that's fine. Another statement here. I don't know why we removed movement speed to get Reaper's Pursuit, but it is what it is. The other cool thing is now Evade does leave that desecrated ground behind, so it's just more free damage. Especially considering if you're using like the Desecration Glyph, where you have to be standing in it. It gives you an opportunity to evade, get some desecrated ground on it. You can back up and start your Sever, because Sever, when it goes out, it's actually in front of you, so you're not standing in it. So it does have some potential if you're evading to get to a next pack. You can come back into your Desecration before you cast your Sever and get that extra multiplier damage there. So I like this change. I think this one's going to be really huge for Sever build, which is going to be one of the better builds. I don't like the changes to this for the most part. I do like them adding Bloodlance ranks here. I think that's pretty huge. Increasing the damage is pretty massive. But the whole duration thing, I don't like that at all. I do like the DR. This is going to be a better piece for Bloodlance, but Bloodlance is still just not where it needs to be, unfortunately. Blood Artisan's Cuirass, this is a super cool item. There's been a build back in season 1. We had the one-shot build where you could just spam blood orbs for an hour and get enough blood orbs on the ground where you could one-shot any boss in the game. That was neat and all. Huge changes for this, reducing the amount that you have to pick up. I don't, however, understand the blood orb restoring essence. I guess that would work for if you're using Bloodlance for more orbs. but it is what it is. This item's fine. I think it's going to improve the current niche build that this is actually utilized in. But again, it's a niche item. I don't think it's going to have any major impact anywhere. For the Howl from Below, this has been in my opinion, a trap item since the beginning of time. They did give a massive boost to corpse attack speed, but again, the fact that the corpse explosion's so bad anyway, especially with the blighted nerfs and the wither nerfs, you can only multiply this so much, and you can only multiply crap so much, and it's still crap. So it is what it is. I do like that they added the corpse explosion skilled ranks there. We're going to be able to scale corpse explosion itself, the ranks massively with this, including with the Black River, and then we got Shaco. So there's a lot of ways to get this high into the 20s. So it's still not going to be that great a damage, primarily because the underlying multipliers were nerfed so badly that these uniques just aren't catching up to those nerfs. Curse Embrace, same thing. It's another blood thing. I just don't think this is going to move the dial very much at all. There's not enough damage on this to move the dial. I like the fact that they removed the additive damage and replaced it with the Tides of Blood. I think that's really good. And I do think this is the only thing that this is going to see a major improvement in quality of life for blood builds is going to be for bossing and killing elites, because the big thing for blood builds is AoE targets. You can just spam them down and there's no issue, but it does die off drastically when you're into single targets. So slight buff for a blood surge there. Again, I don't think it's anything that's going to be massively impactful. Again, I don't know why we're on to Deathless Visage. I don't know why we're putting so many armor rolls on things. If you look at this from a standpoint of the old Bone Spear was lidless plus Deathless Visage. I mean, we're over armor cap just with those two items, not to mention where the other armor rolls are. So I don't understand the armor everywhere. I just don't. Cool that you get a chance to get additional Bone Spear, but you already have that anyway. I don't really like that on this, and especially for the Bone Crit Strike damage, but there was an interaction with the way that you got the explosions from the echoes. So I don't really like that change at all. It is what it is. I don't think this is going to make a big impact, especially considering the Lucian's helmet is going to outperform this. I don't think there's any major change with that. Blood Moon Breaches, however, was one of the more surprising things to see in these patch notes. Blood Moon Breaches to me was an incredibly big surprise. We got the leak from PTR, and they had shown that they had actually boosted this from PTR up to 100% instead of the 70% that we had. But now they've bumped that up to 150%. So 70% was the old value. Now we're going to 150%. This is massive for Bone Spirit. And y'all have heard me say this so many times. Bone Spirit's your best build, and all they did was buff it and nerf everything else. Well, this is another case of it. They did remove the amplify damage. I don't understand that at all. Curse skills are not giving us additional damage. Amplify was. And again, for anything non-Bone Spirit, trying to squeak out any damage you could, like Blood Surge, Blood Lance, removing that amplify damage is removing a substantial amount of a multiplier, 3%, just from one amplify rank. So I don't like that at all. I don't like the fact that we've changed the damage reduction and now we're having an additive value again. I don't like that at all. I don't know why we're getting rid of damage reduction on pants, but here we are. But overall, this was a huge buff for anything that does overpower. I mean, a massive buff. What is that, 110-something% damage increase from that? So that's huge and a very pleasant surprise. Mindolin Ring, I am just it's I just can't get on board with this ring at all. It scales off our damage, not the minion damage. I still don't like this ring. it's just outshined by tempers in general now. The Golem Mastery, Skeletal Mage Mastery, and Warrior Mastery is cool. The additional minion attack speed is actually reduced in this value, so I don't like that. I don't see any play for Mindolin at all for any minion build. It's just not a good ring anymore. And lastly, the Ring of Sacrilegious Soul. So this is very interesting because they've added Grim Harvest onto it. They removed the max essence, but they added Grim Harvest. This is super interesting to me because Grim Harvest is there's not a lot of places to get extra bonuses for essence regen. And this is effectively doubling what we can get in regen from this. So it's kind of interesting for some builds that have essence management. It's going to vastly improve their quality of life, but that's about it. And the movement speed's cool. But the Grim Harvest is the biggest change for this, and I think that that's pretty cool. I do not like them removing max life from it. We don't get that much survivability as Necro, which everybody knows, and they removed it for the movement speed. I don't like that at all, especially considering we can all get to 200% movement speed anyway now. I don't like it. But overall, really not a lot of buffs for Necro. The biggest one is going to be the Greaves and the Blood Moon Breaches, but everything else is kind of just mediocre at best.
Yeah, I mean, it does look like some of the changes were a little bit on point, at least. While some of them felt like, well, most of them, I suppose, were like weird. I think the underlying problem for Necro for this patch is like you've been saying like a million times as well. Like they nerfed the wrong things with Necro and buffed the things that were already good, which made just no sense. They're just funneling everyone to play one build.
Yeah, it does feel that way, and it also feels like I don't want to say this. There's not a grasp of Necro mechanics. They're trying to fix.
I have no understanding of Necro. I have no understanding of Necro or how it works whatsoever.
Well, you
Bone Spear, man.
These changes.
The only thing that makes sense is Bone Spear.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, some of the changes just don't make sense there. But I think that the other thing that was talked about earlier today was key passives for barbs, right? Like trying to bring them in line. Necros didn't see any of that change either. Our blood passive's garbage. Our minion passive's garbage. Our shadow passive was used in most builds just to buff the aspect or get the aspect going. That got gutted to absolutely garbage. So the only key passive we have that's really viable is our bone passive, and there's 2 builds that can use it. So just overall, the mechanics of Necro do not make sense. They just don't, and you can see that the mechanics are not understood in the way these changes were made. If you look at the very unique stuff like Ebon Piercer, it clearly shows that there's just not an understanding of how things work. And that's what bothers me the most is we're talking about balancing and we're moving the game in a certain direction. Well, how do we balance things when there's not even understanding of how these things work to balance? You can't balance something you do not understand. And this is proof. The Ebon Piercer is a great example. It was the 3rd best build for Necro this season. And they changed the amulet to stuff that doesn't even make sense. So there's just not an understanding. And I think until there is a good understanding of how, and I don't know enough about other classes to make that comment about the classes, but until they get an understanding of how Necromancer works, there is not going to be any balance changes. All they're going to do is continue to nerf. And I mean, another prime example was Blood Mist. Sork killed Blood Mist for Necromancer.
Yo, my bad, dude. I'm sorry.
The Immortal Flame Sork. The Immortal
it should have
Flame
just been
Sork.
Flame Shield. It should have just been Flame Shield that it got affected by.
Right. I mean, and when you look at it from that standpoint, Sorks could still do things while you were immortal. Necros and Blood Mist can't. You have one aspect that allows you to poop out corpse explosions, which don't do any damage now, and they're going to do even less damage tomorrow when we get the Wither nerf. So it's just there's just not an understanding of the mechanics, because why in the world would you fix Sork by nerfing Necro? It doesn't make sense. So that's my synopsis of the whole season 5 for Necros. There's just not an understanding of how the mechanics work. I think that it's also evident in what they buffed. The fact that Bone Spirit is so far ahead of any other build we have currently. And even if you saw nothing more than the Blood Moon Breaches getting 100-something% damage increase on it, not including the new helmet, the new boots, the new aspect, we're going to go, we were, max we saw in season 4 was 4.2 billion. And just in PTR, before we got the Paragon buff for overpower, before we got the additional Blood Moon Breaches overpower, then you add in, so before those buffs, we were getting 12 to 13 billion hits in PTR. So there's no reason to think with these changes, we're not going to see Bone Spirit doing 20 billion damage. And then you're going to have Sever doing 120 million. Like it's so the disparity in Necro builds is worse than it's ever been before. And I truly think this is just the absolute worst place that Necromancer's ever been.
What about all of the?
Damn, that sucks, dog.
What about all the sorcerer changes then? Like we have one final little class that
Heyo.
deserves
Oh
a
shit.
little bit
Here we
of
go.
talking about as well. Fractured.
All right. So I had
Wilderness.
calculated. Fractured Winterglass is insane. I had calced Frozen Orb getting like an 80% buff before this, and then when I looked at this, I did some math on like average conjurations. So it looks like Frozen Orb overall is like 175% buff. The biggest thing here is that it went from 2 to Conj Mastery to 4, so now it's going to upgrade correctly, and you're going to be able to get up to 10. I think it was 10 ranks of Conj Mastery, whereas before you could only get 5. And you would get stuck in limbo if you hit 2 ranks on the Conj Mastery, because it wouldn't go up. It sucks that it lost the cooldown reduction, but if you're running Shaco, it doesn't really matter. Chance for Frozen Orb to cast twice is huge. And then conjuration cooldowns are reduced. That's crazy. So yeah, Ice Blade, Lightning Spear on the bar. And then they buffed the shit out of the rest of it. This thing's insane. But now we're all bored of Frozen Orb, so it's whatever. All right, Asu's Heirloom. Now I have to go through all my builds and lower my crit chance from 70 to 60. Poor me. Because we're going to get 40% crit chance out of these boots. I like that they upped the crit strike damage on it, but the resist all elements is sort of troll because we don't need it. I'd like the mana cost reduction, but it's whatever. All right, Raymond, I don't really have much to say about this. They didn't really buff it. They just gave it some like elemental attunement is whatever, shocking impact is whatever. So this thing's about the same. They didn't really change this thing. Gloves of the Illuminator. These are great. I've always said that it should have been more damage, but I will, because it was the 20% less damage, but now it's just going to be normal damage. Still got the same ranks to Fireball. You get mana when Fireball explodes. It's got a little bit better Fireball ATS, which is nice because that's second bucket. So that's huge. And then it's got a good crit chance roll. These things, Fireball's looking really good. Flame Weaver, I don't. So the Devouring Blaze on it used to be weird. Oh shit, 100% increased damage. Okay, so Firebolt got a huge buff. It'll probably still be one of our best builds, but it's just going to be a lot clunkier to play. The Firewall size is honestly not the worst thing because I don't know. I mean, for like ultra min max, it's like whatever. But just for general play, it's fine. So these are good. And then the double chance proc, Starfall, baby. Plus, so it got the unique staff treatment. So on a unique staff, you'll have 6 ranks, and then when you like GA Masterwork, you can get up to 16 ranks. So now with that 6 ranks to Meteor, you can get 16 ranks to Meteor. Lowered the cooldown down to 4 seconds, and you get 2 charges. That's great. You're going to be able to spam more. And it's still kept its CDR. It's got int now and meteor size. Look out for meteor. It's gonna be fun. All right, Ice Heart Brace. I don't really know. I don't know, man. These are still sort of like a meme Health Tide item or like a super meme Nightmare Dungeon item. That's whatever. I don't really know what the shatter damage echo, probably just shatter damage itself. I don't know. That's whatever. Blue Rose. All right. So Blizzard already had a really easy time getting all the crit chance that it needed because it only ever holy shit. It's even better now. It only ever needed 50% crit chance. You got your other 30 from Asus, and then you got your other 20 from Stalagmite. But now this has crit chance as well in Asus, so now you only need 40% crit chance, and then this ring has 11 on it. So like you only need crit chance on like your gloves in this. Not even your gloves, dude. Just like Starless in this, and you're at the 40% crit chance that you need. And then 170% cold damage, 350 ice spike damage, and then 35% for ice spikes to explode twice. You GA, crit that, all that jazz. And then even the little lucky hit bullshit thing that just you can just kind of ignore that. I pretend that the ice spike explode twice is the actual unique effects of it, and the other one's just like a lucky hit effect. It's now like 4,200 damage or something, so like it's fine. People say Blizzard has bad lucky hit, but like you cast a trillion of them, it'll go off. Tel Rasha is now going to go up to 80%. Used to go to 60, you know, it was 75 for a little bit. So it's sort of where it used to be. You only need 4 stacks. Let's see, it's still got its CDR, it's still got lucky hit, it's got a fat non-fizz roll, and then it sucks that it lost resource gen for potent warding. Potent warding's like, it's okay. Like you get a little bit more max res, like that's good, but it's whatever. I don't think I'm using Tel Rasha on many builds, honestly. I'm just going Starless and a Legendary Ring. Flame Scar is still terrible. But I mean, you could possibly get 16 ranks on it, but Incinerate's always going to use a Flamethrower staff, so it's like irrelevant. Oculus actually looks pretty good. If you can run it with some like Metamorphosis boots or something, you're going to get so many ranks to teleport, Nova size, teleport damage. Holy shit. They fixed it. It sucks that it's still random, but Asi is going to enable teleport builds to not be terrible. Okay, Staff of Endless Rage. I've hated this staff for the longest time, and I think they actually did a pretty good job with it. It's got the fire damage, it's got a fat int roll now, +6 to fireball again with the. It was so stupid it didn't have it before. Now it's going to get 16 ranks to fireball. This is going to be mandatory on fireball builds, Staff of Endless Rage Illuminators. Chance for fireball to cast twice, and then the fireball projectile speed I thought was a little weird, but I guess in practice it'll be just make the build feel better and be nice. And like everything else is amazing, so we'll take it.
It's
And then what's it go up to? 90% more damage?
Yeah, I mean it's a good affix to have if you're gonna have like a random one at least. Like better than that.
Yeah. It's not
resistance.
like it's not a completely it's not a complete throw. And like in the video that they did, it was going pretty fast, so that's nice. And then fireball speed makes the bounces faster, so it's not as like clunky. Yeah, so it's like it's gonna be a really fast build. And my boy Liam Neeson, this is my baby, because I love charge bolts. It's one of my favorite builds, and I've been waiting for this thing to be good for a long time. And you know what? I don't think it's going to be anywhere close. It's not going to be as good as like the Staff of Endless Rage buff that I think that we saw. But you know, it's got a really fat lightning damage roll, huge int roll. Because Sorc struggles to get a lot of additive, so this is really important that we have like lightning damage and int and stuff on here. But you know, the 6 ranks the charge bolts, gets the 16. It's got a huge resource cost reduction roll, like, and that's actually sort of important for charge bolts because charge bolts doesn't do a good job at making crackling, and making crackling is a vehicle for all your mana regen on lightning builds. So now it's got this huge resource cost reduction roll. And you know, once you masterwork this, you're always going to be casting twice. And then, you know, the unique effect I've always been a little bit weird about, 80% chance to be attracted and last 300% longer. What ends up happening on single target is like, yeah, like, I mean, you're already next to the target, so it doesn't really need to be attracted to enemies, but it is really nice for mobbing, because they'll just like, and they'll just like hit everything. I like it. I'm going to use it on it now, and then this fucking piece of shit. I think Vid in the chat here, I think he's actually going to do a crackling energy build, so just watch out for that. He'll let you know how it is, but it lost its cooldown. It's got a really high crackling energy damage roll now. You're getting movement speed, which is whatever, because you'll probably run Asus boots. But then the DR per crackling energy charge actually is interesting, because you can hold I think you hold 10, so you can get 20% DR all the time from this, and then it's still a 15% chance, so that kind of sucks. But it's looking better. It's looking better. I think somebody at Blizzard has a real boner for crackling energy, and they just won't let it die. So they're gonna keep going until it happens.
Yeah, I mean we'll see, I suppose.
Yeah, but honestly, Sork's looking amazing. Every skill. The only one that didn't get huge buffs was Ice Shards, which it got good buffs too with all the rest of it, Paragon and skill tree, skill percentages and the int and stuff. But it doesn't really have a unique that it loves, so it didn't really get any crazy buffs. But honestly, Sork's looking fucking just so much better than it was this season. 2-3 times as good on all these builds. So if we capped at 130, I don't know, maybe 140, 145. We'll have to see how the pits are with the well, if the bosses have lower health, we may be able to get higher, maybe 150 or something like that. That would be a good goal for Sork, I'd say. Is if we can do a 150, I won't complain. Just a little bit, but they actually did it, man. They buffed the shit out of Sork, and I wasn't expecting it, because they haven't for so long, and I was always confused. I was like, buff us up the barb, buff us up the barb, and then I'm like, when I saw the barb nerfs, I'm like, oh no, Sork, because Sork is balanced. Such a tight band and the tiers within all the skills besides Firebolt, Shatter. So it's nice to see, and it's gonna be fun. I have way too many builds that I want to play next season. I want to play all of them.
I suppose with all of this in mind as well, we have overloaded ourselves and others with information at this point. Do you guys have any closing thoughts for your classes based on the information that we have from these patch notes? Are you cool, calm, and collected for season 5? Are you panicking? What's your what's your perspective on the patch?
I don't want to hear in Sork chat what's the best build, because I think honestly it's gonna be pick whatever you want. They're all gonna be great and probably fall within a tight little range. So just finally play whatever you want, man. It's gonna be fun.
Go ahead, Beat.
Honestly, I'll say big yay for build diversity. I've been advocating for core skill to be back on the menu since season 4, probably. Was getting kind of tired of the take whatever has the highest multiplier. And it's gonna have that higher multiplier by a very large margin, by ×5 the damage of the second best build. So the fact that they normalized most of the builds, at least for barbs, that they removed most of the, let's say, stupid multipliers, such as bash, flay, and basically all the bleed tempers or passives. I feel like it's kind of good for build diversity. I hope we can get a better and kind of linear progression going from those World Tier 1, World Tier 2 baby uniques into World Tier 3, World Tier 4 good uniques into the Hell's Legion new uniques. And then the Mythic uniques or Uber uniques, however we call them now. So in that regard, I'm kind of hyped. The fact that they buffed a lot of stuff and tried to normalize the power budget of most builds also feels good. I am not hyped at all regarding the Barbarian season journey team being weapon swapping and knocked back, but I'll take it, whatever. The last thing is, if they give us build diversity, I hope they're gonna give us the fucking armory at some point, because I don't want to make 5 barbs again this season, especially on just a 2-month season. And for the rest, I'd say thank you, Blizzard, for giving us still like a decent season 5. I feel like they could have just gotten away with like a couple of changes, shitty season 3 team, and just say, hey, we're just working for the DLC. Don't worry. So yeah, congrats on them for still giving us like a decent odd number season.
I definitely mimic the thought of the season's going to be good. The season mechanics I think are great. We got to play around with the horde. Loved it. I thought it was a cool mechanic. I'm really thankful they're doing the little preview for lower world tiers. I think that is such a cool mechanic, especially for new players. I like the fact that there's multiple grinds like for the faction. With the reward for that, I think they're going with them continuing that. That's a great feature. So I do think the mechanics in the season itself are cool. The quality of life improvements, I can't stress it enough. When we were doing boss runs in the PTR, just being able to respawn them instantly was one of the
that was
best
so
quality
good.
of life features. It was so good because I had saved up a ton of mats and we just went and spammed them, and it was great. I do, however, I said it earlier. I think this is the worst place Necro's ever been in. It does not feel good. To Beat's point, we got some build diversity. We do too. We have one build that's really good, and then all of our other really crappy builds are all together in the same area. So if you want to play any of those builds, you're going to be comparable to each other. But even then, I don't think that any of the other builds other than Bone Spirit are going to compete with other classes. Bone Spirit itself very well may end up being. I know Sanctum's keen on Rogue's going to be the number one in every way, but Bone Spirit, I mean, number wise, it's potentially going to get 20 billion on the top end per hit. Like, okay, cool, man. That's ridiculous. Whereas other builds are not going to do that no matter what class they are. So, we've got one build that's really going to shine, and then the rest are just going to be, hey, you made your point, they're diverse. You got a whole bunch of crappy diversity here. And that does not feel good considering, Necro used to have a good spread. You could have, even in season 4, there was still a good spread. Sever was doing good. Evan Pierce was doing good. Minions were doing good. Bone Spirit was even pushing close to 127, 128, I think. So, I mean, it was still decent. You could progress, but it just doesn't look good, and I'm not looking forward to this right now. It's kind of sad.
I do like trying to be positive a bit about season 5 in general as well. I do like that they are trying new things to see what sort of works, and they are missing a decent amount for certain classes, some more than others. I think Sork is eating almost unreasonably well in terms of like all the changes actually hitting right for the most part. I can't think of a change that is like, oh my god, this is awful for Sork.
Yeah, no, everything's great. It's weird. It almost feels too good to be true. I'm almost a little like,
You should be scared. Of every one of us, you should be the one that is worried at this point.
I'm like happy and not bitching and moaning. But I think what's gonna happen is like Spiritborn's gonna get released. I'm gonna be like, oh, I suck.
That's
But
true.
no, nah, we'll be alright.
But I do think that
That's fine.
they're trying new stuff. I can definitely appreciate them revamping literally every single unique essentially, and the work that went into that. Some of it feels very thought through, and some of it feels a little bit like, is this item really consequential for anyone? In terms of like changes and stuff like that. But we'll just see how the season plays out. I want to thank you guys for having stuck around for 3 entire hours. It was a lot of information to go through. If you guys are interested in these people and their builds in the future and for season 5, I'm sure they will make themselves known on Sanctuary as per usual. Otherwise, you can find them on their respective websites and stuff. As for me, I will be updating all of the silly spreadsheets and everything that I'm making, as well as the attack speed articles on Maxroll now when we're starting to get all of the breakpoints. I am gonna be so happy to not do any more attack speed breakpoint testing. I will throw you guys that are on stream over to Mac, I think. See if he is having fun in Diablo.
Yeah, he's doing spreadsheets on how bad the necro changes were.
Damn, that sucks, man.
Um,
That's tough.
I want to
Tough angle.
appreciate all of you for being here. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, boys.
Peace.